our new member and to wish our new member well. Honorable Vusi Ibiza from the EFF is now standing in or has replaced Honorable Shimbeni. Shimbeni is still an alternate. We are going to miss Honorable Shimbeni. He was a real rock in this committee. We wish Honorable Shimbeni well in his new endeavors and congratulate him on his new deployment. Honorable, are you here? Honorable Vusi Koza.
Good morning, Chairperson. Thank you very much for welcoming us. I want to greet all the committee members and say thank you for having us here. We hope we will be able to, I'll be able to carry on where Honorable Shembeni left off. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Honorable Koza. By now you have done a thorough search on all of us and you have done your research on the chair and everybody. Don't believe what the media says. The media can choose your enemies for you. Don't let the media choose your enemies. Choose your own enemies, young man. Your future is bright. I'm hosting my eldest grandchild. She flew in from Sweden to celebrate her birthday with me. Now you'll be very surprised that my eldest grandchild is going to be 20 years old. And I'm going to be 60 this year. So whatever you read about me, remember I'm old enough. I love young people. You've also heard that about me. I love young people. It's time for you to take over the leadership. We want to hand over the baton. We're not tired in this committee. I'm telling you, Honorable Tablanche is a retired general. He's more energetic than I am. So don't underestimate age. Oh, no. Okay, I didn't ask you to talk now. Just take the compliment, Honorable Tablanche.
Thank you. I'm taking a chairperson.
Honorable Sheikh Imam has more energy in this committee and he serves on 110 different committees. May the EFF question how he can serve on so many committees. I don't know what makes him appear in 20 committees. So that's your first task. You have done your first task. You've done all your research on us. Our researcher is Nicolette van Zyl-Gous. She is the most efficient researcher I've worked with. I was a research assistant for the head of department for English at the University of the Western Cape when she was doing her second PhD. I have experience of working with researchers. Ms. Nicolette van Zyl-Gous is the best researcher I've ever worked with. Nicolette, you can say thank you.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. I really appreciate it. And welcome, Honorable Koza.
Thank you. Honorable Sheikh Imam, do you now want to rebuff what I said about you? Remember, Honorable Sheikh Imam, this is a legal meeting. Whatever you say is recorded. I'm right, you sit in 20 committees.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I appreciate that. And yes, I was actually had my hand raised to say that I'm moonlighting again this morning with other committees, Chief Whip's committee, and also appropriation. So I'm in and out. But thank you very much. And yes, welcome to well, Vusi Koza is a comrade. We used to be together before, so we know each other very, very well, but I'm sure he's going to contribute effectively. But thank you for all the comments, the compliments that you've given, Chairperson, and let me wish you well in your endeavor to enjoy that birthday with your grandchild. I have a 6-year-old, so I know and understand what it is to have your grandchildren around you, particularly with politics of today. Yes, but thank you very much.
Honorable Sheikh Imam, A birthday's got nothing to do with politics. And mute your mic and lower your hand. How must I now go and tell my granddaughter that a politician says I must enjoy her because of politics? No, man, Honorable Sheikh Imam, you're out of order so early in the meeting. Welcome, Honorable Sheikh Imam. Honorable members, it is my single most important pleasure and privilege to congratulate Honorable Whitfield for his election and appointment as the leader of the Democratic Alliance in the Eastern Cape. It is not a junior position, it's one of the most senior positions in any political party. Congratulations, Honorable Whitfield. You are one of the members of this committee who really does an excellent and sterling job. I listen to all the members of the committee, but I take time to listen to you. All the members of the opposition, you do know that I consult with you, but I have to be honest with you. The leader of the majority opposition and the shadow minister of police receives more of my time. Although he's very irritated, he knows I actually phone him because I want to see his profile pic of his handsome son. I've often told him that the son got the mother's beauty and his brains. Congratulations, Honorable Whitfield. Members, would you like to congratulate Honorable Whitfield?
Congratulations, Honorable Whitfield.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Honorable Winfield. I've already
Honorable Whip,
congratulated him yesterday.
Honorable Whip, can you do it formally as the Whip of the committee? And you must congratulate Honorable Koza formally as the Whip of this committee.
Let me welcome Honorable Koza
Thank
to
you
the
very much.
committee. Like the chairperson has said, this is a very much important committee dealing about safety and security of our country, of our citizens. And in this committee, there are no squabbles. We debate, convince each other. Where we can't, we agree that we are disagreeing, but we never attack each other. Welcome very much, and we value your contribution into this committee. Honorable Shembeni was also very handsome and contributing and very resourceful to this committee. Having said that, Chairperson, yesterday I met with the Honorable Whitfield in Parliament, and he was happy. I saw him being very happy that he has been elected as the leader of DA in Eastern Cape. And I want to once more congratulate you, Honorable Whitfield, on your responsibilities. Like the chairperson said, it's not an easy responsibility. Leading a province which is rural like Eastern Cape, where people need services. As a leader of the party, we expect you to put those who are in power, which are us, the ANC, on our toes so that we continue delivering services to our people. Congratulations once more. Thank you, Chair.
Before I ask Honorable Whitfield if he has anything to say, allow me to welcome Honorable Shembeni. Honorable Shembeni, you can call me any time of the night, day. The history we have in this committee and I have with you is one that is more than professional or political. You have supported me and this committee. As a former member of the force, you gave us very insightful views. You argued with us in a very respectful manner. At all times, you respected me as the chairperson. The two of us differed with each other, but we did it in a respectful way. One of the members of this committee that has played an integral and senior role in the committee. As an alternate, you will still be welcome to be here. And knowing you, I know you're going to be here every Tuesday or Wednesday. That is not, that is an instruction. So if you don't have another committee, but please don't moonlight like Shaky Mum. Don't be now moonlighting. This Shaky Mum, it's got too much energy. He's hyperactive. So Honorable DM, before I call on the two members to respond, DM, the floor is yours if you'd like to make any comments.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning once more to honorable members. I also would like to join you in welcoming Mr. Kosa and wish him well as a member of this committee, and we look forward to working with him for the period that he will be with the committee, and may he be blessed. To Honorable Whitfield, I did pass him my message of congratulations. I would like to reiterate what I said to him on a text, that we congratulate him, we wish him well. It's not an easy responsibility, it's a daunting one, but we know and believe that given his experience and capabilities, he will be able to carry out his responsibilities. And we wish him well during his term of office. Thank you very much, Chair, for the opportunity to pass a comment on behalf of the department. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable, can you please, Honorable Majosi, why do you want to know what's happening to Shembeni? Don't you call him? Honorable Shembeni, Honorable Majosi would like to speak to you personally. Please, can you call her after the meeting? Honorable Shembeni, you have the opportunity to speak now.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable Shembeni, you are not iPad. Your face is there. Why did you wait until I am now seeing you? You're gonna now you must come to the committee. You are no more iPad.
I'm iPad. I was always iPad. So
Thanks, Honorable
thank you very
Shembeni.
much, Chair. Yes, Chairperson, nothing changes. I'm always here. I'll always be here with the committee, participating as usual. There is nothing that will change that. As that happens, like the ANC has got the leader also in this committee, the DA did. So the EFF has got also a leader now. I was alone. I remember previously there was Honorable Mafanya, who was now deployed to the so-called now the defense. Now we've got the newly appointed deployee in the committee, in Commissar Vusikosa, that is going to also help me or assist me in this committee. So I think there is nothing, it's just the additional of ideas into this committee. Thank you, Chair. And congratulations to Honorable Whitfield. I did congratulate him with the messages. And before he was elected the DA leader, I did say that he was going to be elected. It's unfortunate I did not speak to him, but I was speaking to Honorable de Blanche. But anyway, Congratulations, Honorable Whitfield, and that's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Shembeni. On behalf of the chairperson and the entire committee and staff, could you please, and the Deputy Minister, could you convey our appreciation to the Commander-in-Chief for sending us our long-awaited second member? The Commander-in-Chief redeployed Mafanya and only left you, but you did more than 2 people in the committee. So we have to then appreciate the decisions and tell the Commander-in-Chief and Koza, Honorable Koza, convey this message on my behalf, that we appreciate the fact that he's strengthening the Portfolio Committee on Police. We always had 2 members, then we lost Mafanya. So we are very happy, but also tell him it took him a very long time to correct this mistake. And but anyway, rather late than never. Now the 2 young men, we know that there will be a seamless interaction between the 2 of you, and that will be reflected in the contributions to the committee. Honorable Whitfield, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'll leave my camera off so you don't see my very red face. Very grateful for the kind comments and compliments and wishes. Thank you very much. And I think it's now time to roll up our sleeves and get to work in the committee. But if anybody wants DA membership, they know where to find me. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Whitfield, you are very, very late. Honorable Tablanche is the chief organizer for the celebratory and victory event. Tablanche, you will give us a time when it's going to happen physically. We've got a lot to celebrate. And even though we had our challenges, I would like to inform the members that we were very disappointed when our country was grey-listed. But needless to say, the Portfolio Committee of Police ticked more than 5 boxes. So if we had not passed the Poctetara Bill, which is now Act, we then would have had an even more challenging situation. Thanks to Nicolette and all the members of the opposition, the members of the public, for assisting us to pass that amendment bill. When I give the input, it will be quite long, so I hope that you will bear with me. Those are all important matters I need to raise in the committee. Auditor General on accountability ecosystem and material irregularities. Briefing by the SAPS on the 3rd quarter expenditure and performance. Can you just give us a little bit time? We have Operation Dudula. You are welcome. When your time on the agenda is there, I'll do the formal welcoming. Could I please ask Babawa to flight the agenda? While we are flighting an agenda, Babawa, did I raise all the apologies? It's the Minister, the National Commissioner, Honorable Groenewald, may arrive late. Babawa, just give the apologies. We'll adopt the apologies and the agenda together.
Good morning, Chairperson. I received Minister Rev Meswa and Mr. Groenewald. Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable Meshu is still on compassionate leave. Honorable members, please call him to support him. He has lost his life partner, And those of us who lost our life partners, if you say two are joined as one when you get married, if one dies, half of you dies. Can you do the agenda, Babawa? Is that it? Could I have a proposal for the adoption of the apologies?
I move that we accept them, Chair.
A mover for the adoption of the apologies? Do I have a seconder for the adoption of the apologies?
I second, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Moss. Do I have a mover for the adoption of the agenda? I need a mover for the
I move
adoption
for the
of the agenda.
adoption of the agenda, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Whip. Do I have a seconder?
I second, Chairperson Machozi.
Thank you, Honorable Majosi. Are you satisfied now? But please don't put love letters in the chat group of my meeting. Can you call Honorable Shimbeni?
No, Chair, it was not a love letter. I wanted to be, because I was struggling with network. I wanted to maybe get what was happening. I thought maybe Honorable Shembeni is leaving us.
No, he's not leaving us, or your boyfriend is still here. But can you take this conversation must be taken offline and not online, please. And especially online in a meeting, you're leaving a record here of your relationship with Shembeni. Now, cause I can see what's happening in this meeting. You exposed. Thank you. I'm teasing you, Sisi. How's the children? Honorable Majosi, are you there?
They are
How's
well,
the-
they are well, Chairperson. You have just formalized the relationship. You called Shembeni my boyfriend.
No, your friend,
Yes.
your friend, your friend, your
Eh,
friend.
Okay. No, they are well, Chair. They are very well. I just wish that we would move to physical meetings. This hybrid virtual meetings, it's giving us stress and network problems.
Honorable Majosi, Nicolette will tell you that there are very, very few venues in Parliament. And Parliament is reluctant to book us hotels. So you don't know how frustrated I am. We are even sitting on a list that if any cancellations happen, that we are the priority list. We said we're going to have a stress plan, physical stress plan. They allowed the NCOP to have their stress plan at the hotel. It's where Honorable Morentia Gillian went to work, was healthy in the meeting, collapsed and passed away. Honorable members, let us appreciate one another. Life is too short. Could we move now? Minutes, agenda adopted, apologies adopted. Minutes of the 22nd of February.
Chairperson, my hand is up.
Sorry, Honorable Tablanche.
May I proceed, Chairperson?
You may.
Chairperson, thank you. We have dealt with the agenda. I know that. I just want to get clarity on a few things, or I just want to raise a few things. Obviously, we're not going to deal with that this morning. Chairperson, I just want to know what happened to, a few issues like, for instance, the whistleblower, Mashali, and then, the information that we got a while ago about the possible infiltration of the top management in Cape Town by the 28th gang. We didn't hear anything. We heard that it's going to be investigated and nothing since. Chairperson, then the last thing that I think that we also need to get some sort of clarity about is what is this committee's role, or what do we intend doing about the allegations as far as Eskom is concerned. We are the committee for the police, and I think that we need to give it a thought and, take some decisions on that. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Tablanche. I've called Ma'am Mashele personally. Nicolette has sent them letters. You remember that they have to formalize their petition and send it to us. Nicolette has offered to assist so that they know how the petition must be formulated. Professor Dr. Mary De Haas is working with Nicolette on that. The top management in Western Cape, we have requested a report on the matter. Deputy Minister, please remind the National Commissioner that we've requested a report and the Minister's office. If I did not write to the Minister's office on that, Nicolette, could I write to the Minister's office requesting that report? We must now escalate it to the Minister's office. Normally, I first ask the National Commissioner. If he doesn't respond, I then escalated it to the Minister's office. I hope you are happy with that. On the matter of the ESCOM allegations, I will first allow the Auditor General to do the presentation, and then we'll also have that matter attended to after we listen to the Auditor General's report and the report of our budget. What is happening at ESCOM is not an individual or personal matter of an individual. It's a systemic problem. We have consistently been heard about we've been hearing about sabotage. We've been hearing about corruption. We've now been told that no case was made. So what is happening at ESCOM is even worse, because we have consistently, as this committee, asked about ESCOM. We can go to our records and our minutes. You will find that even with the release of the crime stats, we asked them about the impact of load shedding on the increase in crime. And as I said to you, as soon as we have the venue, we'll do the strategic planning session. Minutes. Next page. You read the minutes, you received the minutes. Next. You may go. Honorable members, I'm apologizing for long inputs, but we are now working under very difficult and demanding circumstances. Do I have a proposal for the adoption of the minutes?
Thank you, Chairperson. I second.
Honorable Malekwa proposes adoption. Do we have a
Sheikh
second?
Imam. Sheikh Imam.
Seconds. Thank you very much. Honorable members, that brings me now to the business of today. I again said I want to remind members, we said this when we did the crime stats, we'll come back and we'll interrogate those crime stats regularly. We had our concerns, and I want to raise this, that the same top 30 police stations remain in that category. Kimberley from the Northern Cape is there. Most of them come from the Western Cape. Gauteng and Western Cape. Now, this is not a popularity contest that you would like to win. You know, we talk about the best matric results, we talk about the worst police stations. Can we move out of this where we also have a column for the best police stations? Honorable members, we are bombarded with questions, and the committee, as I told you last week, will have to meet every Tuesday, but also request for a slot on a Friday. Nicolette will tell you how difficult it is. Honorable members, the committee's program is extremely packed. We have 6 approved scheduled meetings this term, which is halfway done. We have much ground to cover and not much time to do so. The parliamentary term has been compressed significantly. We are currently engaging on issues that are legislated in the portfolio, such as the petitions, quarterly expenditure, and petitions. We must use our time economically and be focused in our interactions. We are way behind with the amendment of the IPIT Act and the amendment of the SAPS Act. Honourable members, next, the Critical Infrastructure Council remains a significant challenge. I want to assure members that a lot of work has been done behind the scenes to address this. A number of members, candidates, did not receive top security clearance. We are continuously engaging with the Minister in the Presidency responsible for state security. I would like to propose that if this continues much longer, that we actually bring a suggestion. I'd like to suggest that we have a presentation to the committee and that we need to then consider vetting people before they are interviewed. I think only one person received top security clearance. On a more positive note, the Critical Infrastructure Protection Act regulations have been finalized and submitted to the Minister with a request for him to sign the notice and the notice to be promulgated in the Gazette. On the proclamations, on the 7th of February, the Minister of Police tabled several proclamations under Section 26 of the Petitions Act, dating back to 2017. The Petitions Bill was passed by the committee in November last year. We deleted the section 26, so the Minister was not supposed to then publish proclamations under a section which we deleted. Could the Deputy Minister please attend to this? The Amendment Act was proclaimed on the 4th of January 2023, and thus the repeal of Section 25 and 26 of the Principal Act took effect. As a result, I have requested and received a legal opinion for Parliament's legal services, where legal services on the standing of these proclamations as tabled by the Minister. The result of the repeal of Section 26 is that this was from the legal services, as of the 4th of January 2023, Parliament is no longer required to approve the proclamation made in terms of Section 25. Accordingly, the Minister's tabling of the proclamations is void. However, in terms of Section 27 of Petitions, a proclamation issued under Section 25 remains valid and has the same force and effect as a notice referred to in Section 26A of the Financial Intelligence Center Act. My office has requested an explanation from the National Commissioner and the Minister respectively as to why proclamations dating back to 2017 were not tabled in Parliament for approval within a reasonable time. Nicolette, the legal opinion can be shared with members of the committee. I said we were unfortunately and regrettably grey-listed. The DPCI will focus its efforts on combating and investigating money laundering and terror financing. As such, over the medium term, the DPCI will aim to increase the number of requests to the Financial Intelligence Center on money laundering, which went from 86 to 124, and on terror financing, which went from 151 to 218. To implement the FAFT standards and enhance the DPCI's capacity in strategic competencies, an additional 2,647 posts are expected to be filled in 2023, 2024, 24-25. The tabling of strategic plans and APPs. All departments must table their updated strategic plans and annual performance plans from Thursday, the 9th of March. From Thursday, the 9th of March. I have already welcomed Honorable Koza, formerly from the KZN legislature, as the new full-time EFF member, and Honorable Shembeni as the alternate. In today's agenda, material irregularities, the committee received a request from the Office of the AG on an engagement to update the committee on what the AG reported during the BRRR report and further clarification on the material irregularities in this portfolio, the quarterly expenditure and performance. The continuous monitoring of expenditure and performance is important and necessary to ensure that the allocated resources are utilized for their intended purposes, and in doing so, accountability is ensured. The committee remains concerned about the higher than planned spending on compensation of employees and the significantly low spending on payments for capital assets, especially on buildings and fixed structures. We will bring a proposal to the committee once we have consulted with all, is that the committee can recommend that we urgently look at the legal and strategic relationship police has with public works. We have sympathy for the challenges experienced by top Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. This cannot be the only reason for not spending funds to upgrade the buildings of SAPS. The department cannot spend more than 50% of its budget on buildings in the last 2 months of the financial year, and this must be fixed. We will also come and present to you our recommendation that the infrastructure portfolio of particularly police be dislodged from public works and infrastructure. But once we have done our homework, we'll bring this to you. We are also proposing that SETA and the responsibilities of IT at SETA be shifted from SETA back to the department. General Fani, this will be brought to you, and you'll be requested, we're asking the minister to have a team to do this for the committee. The committee will consider 2 petitions, one from the community of Leondale, requesting the construction of a fully fledged police station, and the second from Operation Dudula in the Western Cape, petitioning Parliament to address gender-based violence, amongst others, in the Western Cape. My comments are not for discussion. You can include them when we get to the Auditor General's presentation and the presentation on our expenditure. May I use this opportunity to invite the Auditor General's office through you, Deputy Minister, and through the Acting National Commissioner, You will introduce the team. Deputy Minister, the floor is yours to introduce the item of the Auditor General. Auditor General and the team, we are also going to have the SAPS third quarter expenditure. Kindly please be reminded that we still have 2 petitions. I request that we don't rush through things, but that we also do not spend too much time and overextend and exploit the chairperson's very generous and very welcoming approach today. I think you should all know the chair is the only thing that's making the chair happy today is that her grandchild is coming. So don't get excited and think I'm happy to see you, Honorable Whip. Honorable Whip, the grandchild will be introduced to you. Honorable DM, you may introduce your team.
Thank you, Chairperson. As we have indicated, the apology of the Minister and the National Commissioner, but we have a complement of led by General Musikidi, who will introduce the rest of the team through you, Chairperson, including DPCI. I've seen General Levea, and they will then indicate who else is here. If you may allow, Chair, and they will introduce themselves, then we can then ask the Auditor General's office to do the same and lead with the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable DM. May I ask that one person introduces the entire team, and the same with the Auditor General's office. If we do it one by one, it's going to take too much time. Thank you.
No, we fully agree, Chair. I'll ask General Musikidi, the Acting National Commissioner, to do so.
General, you may continue. Thank you, DM.
I think she might be experiencing problems of connectivity because load shedding is with us, Chair. I will also be going through it in the next 12 minutes, but I'll request General Nzia, the acting DNC, to do so if she's connected properly. General Nzia, through you, Chair.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? General Musikidi?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. I said earlier, thank you very much for the opportunity, and thanks to your committee. My role, Chairperson, at this moment is to introduce the team from the South African Police Service as requested. I am Lieutenant General Musikidi, Acting National Commissioner, as it has been recorded earlier on the absence of the National Commissioner of Police. With me in this meeting, it's the National Head of the Directorate, Dr. Libia, the Acting Deputy National Commissioner Support Services, Lieutenant General Nzia, the 9 provincial commissioners, Chair, provincial commissioners of all the provinces, in the likes of Lieutenant General Mene, Mutswenyani, Mawela, NS Mukonazi, Hadebe, Kwena, Otola, and Advocate Patekile, as well as the Acting Provincial Commissioner for Mpumalanga Province, Major General Mukonazi. I also have the Divisional Commissioners, Lieutenant General Kumalo, Crime Intelligence, Lieutenant General Dimpani, Financial and Administrative Service, Lieutenant General Sintumule, Detective and Forensic Services, Lieutenant General Dr. Zulu, Human Resource Development, Lieutenant General Jacobs, or the representative, Divisional Commissioner Inspectorate. On behalf of Advocate Lieutenant General Kamani, we have Major General Biergas, Legal and Policy Services, Lieutenant General Sitlabani, Protection and Security Services, Lieutenant General Fani, Supply Chain Management. On behalf of the Divisional Commissioner Technology Management, TMS, we have Major General, my apology, Chairperson, I'll confirm that. We do have a Divisional Commissioner Visible Policing and Operations, Lieutenant General Mutlala. We also have the Head of Corporate Communication and Liaison, Major General Peters. Component Head Strategic Management, General Rabi. From the Executive Secretariat in the Office of the National Commissioner, we have General Brigadier Malashela, Colonel Stein, Colonel Mlambo, and Colonel Siamela. That is the team from the South African Police Service Chairperson. In conclusion, I also like, on behalf of the service, to congratulate the members of this committee for the new roles and the growth and endeavors that they have achieved. For TMS Chairperson, who is representing Lieutenant General Mavundla, who is out of the country with the National Commissioner, it's Major General Kabela. Thank you so much. I submit, Chairperson.
Okay,
Thank you very much, the Auditor General.
Okay. Morning, Honorable Chair, morning, honorable members. My name is Eugene Dehaan. I'm the Deputy Business Unit Leader for this unit, also responsible for SAPS, for the police services. Morning to the Major Generals, and then also to other police members on the platform. I'll be introducing my team. So from my side, like I mentioned, I'm the Deputy Business Unit Leader. I also got Ms. Nelisiwe Mishlango. She's the Senior Manager responsible for the police audit. And then I've got 4 managers also on the platform from the Auditor General side, which is Ms. Makiti, Zibongile, and Cindy, and Ms. Laratu. And then we also have our Parliamentary Liaison Officer, which I'm sure you are much familiar with, the Chair, Mr. Zongezo. So that is from our side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eugene. Welcome to you and your team. You already are part of the committee, but you know, you're not always the bearer of good news. So I'm already prepared to be, I read your presentation. So please, can you bring us better news? You know, it's the messenger gets killed. Do you know that? So why do you want to be the messenger of bad news all the time? Can you bring me good news next time? Thanks. You may start your presentation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Yes, I think from our side, we do provide the information as well as needed in terms of our mandate to also make sure we do at least build some public confidence from the office side. So not unfortunately, but sometimes we're not always the bearer of good news, but we do try and assist and support the department where we can to also not only highlight these matters, but also then to walk the journey with them, support them, and make sure we can also, at the end of the day, find appropriate solutions that do serve the public better. So yeah, so from our side, we'll definitely be touching on the accountability ecosystem. This is where we'll be sharing some insights in terms of the different role players in the accountability system and where they fit in and why the importance, the important role that they have to play to ensure at the end of the day, the accountability is felt through the public sector, and there is also a shift of public sector accountability to ensure improved service delivery. Then we'll also be touching on material irregularities as what was requested by the committee. So we'll definitely be touching on some of those. And what we also will be doing is not only touching, but we'll also be sharing some areas that we have scoped in that we feel might be subject to some material irregularities coming out. This does not mean that they already exist. We're just trying to share those specific areas from our insights that we want to make the committee aware as to when you engage with the department and with the commissioner and those charged with governance, that at least you can already start asking the questions as to how are they ensuring that consequence management, the controls in those environments, and at least trying to then ensure that the service delivery in those specific areas are actually being supplied. So I think from our side, as much as we will be reporting on the process, we also want to start highlighting some of the areas that we feel this committee should be aware of, and also maybe start focusing on in your deliberations going forward with the different members in this specific department. So I will hand over to Ms. Nelisiwe. She'll be taking us through the presentation. Once she is done, we will then take some questions for any clarity. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Eugene, you have pictures, but you don't have sound.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson. Can I first ask if
how are you? How are you?
I am well. How are you, Chairperson?
Oh, compliments. I haven't seen you. And all the blessings. You may
Yes.
start.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm just trying to sort out my presentation first. Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to you, to all the honorable members of the Portfolio Committee of Police, the Deputy Minister, the Acting National Commissioner, or the Lieutenant Generals, Major Generals in the call, as well as those colleagues from the SAPS department, as well to my colleagues on the call as well. Good morning to you. Chairperson, I believe Eugene has already done some kind of an overview of what we then bring to you this morning. I'd like to first start with my presentation on our mission and vision. But however, I just want to highlight in terms of our vision, what is it that we strive to see in the public sector as the Office of the Auditor General. We say we want to be recognized by all our stakeholders as the relevant supreme audit institution that enhances public sector accountability. And this is where we actually are starting with this whole accountability system. Chairperson, if you recall, a couple of years ago, we used to have a beautiful slide that we would do, which we called the accountability wheel. In that wheel at that particular time would speak to how if the planning of each organization is done adequately, you know, the execution of that whole plan, the implementation of controls, the supervising, and as well providing proper monitoring in terms of those plans, and therefore that was likely to improve audit outcomes. In that context of what we were looking at that time, we're mostly focusing on inwards. So meaning whatever was within the controls or was within the department, that to say if some of those checks and balances were actually done by the department, they were likely to see better audit outcomes and as well better other performance within their area of control. But as part of our strategic intent as the Office of the Auditor General, we have to actually, shift public sector culture in its entirety, and in how this is how the whole accountability ecosystem came into being. And what we actually identify and realize in the whole accountability ecosystem is actually to say more than what management, the accounting office, and other oversight entities of the department do, but there's other key role players that are out there or that are around, the whole ecosystem that actually have an ability to actually influence and as well input into the processes, so that at the end of the day, each organization achieves its mandate. And that's just in summary, that is part of just the accountability ecosystem. But instead, from the left side, if you look at this key slide that we are trying to highlight, is to say these are mostly the internal key role players that are there, that are supposed to just make sure that each one of them perform their own task. The officials who actually are more responsible for the day-to-day operations of the organization, if those ones do their normal day-to-day checks and balances. And then therefore following the officials will be senior managers who are tasked with actually doing some kind of monitoring, supervising, and actually enforcing some of the internal controls that are then determined by them and the accounting officer and other key role players into the whole place. The accounting officer or the authority, if we're talking about an entity, have also a key role to do their oversight as well and to take accountability of the whole department. And within the very same ecosystem, we've got the executive authority that in most instances would be in a form of a minister who actually has their own role of enforcing the policies and implementing the policies and also giving the vision of their strategic intent as a department. On top of that, there's two key independent role players. We've got the internal audit unit, which is tasked with ensuring that the internal controls of the department are functioning and they do a thorough risk assessment or respond to the risk that are within the department and actually provide their own assurances in the term. And an audit committee as well playing their key role in oversight of the internal audit unit and some of the internal controls of the department. So that concludes, or that just summarizes what are just the key role players of those who are internal. But within the same ecosystem, we've got the guys who are sitting more now on the right. And these are mostly the people who are external into the organization. And that's where we tend to see what we call the coordinating departments. Some of the coordinating departments we've identified: your Public Service Administration and Commission, the National Treasuries, if it's in a provincial space, the provincial treasuries, planning and monitoring and evaluation, and as well this committee, which also has its own critical role and the scope. And this is just to remind to say they also have everyone in this ecosystem have their key role that they need to play to ensure that at the end of the day, everything is done. And in terms of us as AGSA, I think we aim and still strive to actually, through the work that we are doing in auditing, to actually provide more insights. I think you would have been more aware in the last session of our BRRR, some of the key insights that we sort of brought into the committee to just highlight what is it within the environment. But these insights as well, we aim to just shift and actually influence the department or even everybody in the ecosystem to actually do better and do more. And where necessary, if there's a need, enforce some kind of a recommendation. And this is mostly would be done through obviously our newly acquired powers, which is the issuing of material irregularities, and whether we issue recommendations or we aim to recover some of the monies that are lost. And we're just saying in all this ecosystem, at the end of the day, this should be able to influence and enforce and actually make sure that there's actually a proper active citizenry. And as well, at the end of the day, they themselves as the citizens, they also have a key role to play in the whole ecosystem, because feedback needs to also be given back to all the key role players, so that if the citizens are not able to tell the minister or the accounting officer what are the key issues that are on the ground, then they are likely not to be able to deliver what they need to deliver, because the department will continue thinking that they're doing what they're supposed to do. But if there's no active citizenry and there's no proper feedback, that is likely to be just a bit of a challenge. Chairperson, this just concludes just a summary of what we call the accountability ecosystem and what are the key role players of that whole ecosystem. And the next slide, this is more now focused in terms of, the police portfolio, to say who are the key role players. And as well, I think what I've already touched on up there is pretty much applicable here. But however, at the end of the day, the police portfolio aims to ensure that there's a safe, secure environment in the country. But who are those key role players and what are they supposed to do? But I'm well aware that you all know what is the role of your CSP, your CIRA and IPID. But just to highlight, to say, if they themselves perform their roles in terms of the mandate as they are given or as they are put in their respective legislation, and therefore there's likely to be a better safer communities, which is in terms of obviously the National Development Plan is what we strive and aim to achieve as the whole portfolio. If CSP aims to do the adequate resource, provide the right policies and in supporting the minister, the CIRA environment or the PCIRA environment in terms of adequately regularizing that security industry, and as well the department itself, the key elements of their mandate as they are outlined in the Constitution, the IPID, their role in terms of investigating and actually issuing adequate recommendation to the department, and therefore the whole ecosystem comes into place, and as well we might just see a safe and a secure environment. Chairperson, that concludes our message that we're bringing in terms of the accounting ecosystem. And I think we just aim to do this as part of just some of what we call a capacity building back to you as a committee, to just say, this is just a call for action to say, let's try and let's aim for everybody to play their key role or their roles in terms of their mandate. And therefore we are likely to see a better outcomes in terms of the portfolio. Material irregularities is no longer a new concept, whether to yourself and everybody. I think we've all been talking about it. But here, we just aim to come back and just give you feedback and just a reminder of what are the key elements into the whole process, and as well, what is the expectation on everybody. So maybe let me start by just again going back and unpacking the key definition of what a material irregularity is. We're saying it's a non-compliance or a contravention of a legislation. It could be fraud, theft, breach of fiduciary duties that obviously identified throughout our work when we are auditing, that has resulted or is likely to result. So that means that not always that an event should have occurred. At other times, it could be in instances where something is still going to occur because something has not been addressed in the environment. That's likely to result in a material loss, a misuse or a loss of a material public resource, substantial harm to a public sector institution or the general public. The Chairperson, we've implemented MI processes on all the entities or departments within the portfolio, so for all four. But currently, we're only sitting with one department that has some kind of a process that has already started in terms of the material irregularity. So a reminder that we've got 3 actions that we are likely to take in terms of the material irregularity. So we can either refer a matter to the relevant public bodies for further investigation, or 2, We recommend actions to the accounting officer or authority to resolve the material irregularities in the audit report, or if those are not adequately implemented, take remedial binding actions for failure to implement those. And then as a last resort, that's where we'll look at the issue of certificate of debt. Just some of the things that when we issue what we call a notification to the accounting officer authority, what is it that we aim to say they must address? And this comes from the regulation as they are gazetted. We just want the accounting officer in most instances would define what are the circumstances that has led to those irregularities. There's also understanding what kind of investigation conducted into the matter, and what are just some of the circumstances that exist or still exist in the environment. And as well, we'll also assess if there's any controls within the environment that led to the matter that occurred, and as well, what are just some of the areas that need to be strengthened by the accounting officer to ensure that this matter does not recur, or if any, and there's a possibility if there are losses, those losses are actually recovered from the people who actually caused them. In other instances as well, identifying the individuals who actually has permitted or resulted in those irregularities to occur, and then consequence management to actually occur. What are just some of the steps that were taken by the accounting officer? And any other information that the accounting officer or accounting authority may feel that is more sufficient. So these are just some of the standard matters and recommendations and things we would send to the accounting officer and say, please go address, and we would like you to respond on these matters as they are outlined in the regulations. The responsibilities are there, the BRRR. We had a beautiful slide as well like this, where we spoke on to say who's the responsibility in one. But maybe again, let me just remind, especially on the oversight, what are just some of the responsibilities in terms of those MIs in different circumstances. Where we are saying the accounting officer or the authority is dealing with the MI, the responsibility of an oversight is to monitor the progress and cause the accounting officer authority to account for the actions taken and the outcomes of those actions. If the matter is referred to a public body for further investigation, is to monitor the progress with the investigation and cause the public body to come and account to the progress. And if there's any undue delays, to say what are the reasons. Where recommendations have been given, request action plans or implementation, or monitors the progress and cause the accounting officer to account for actions taken and therefore outcome. Remedial actions, monitors as well the progress and cause the accounting officer to come and account for the action. So in most instances, it just involves the similar process. I think I've already spoken of one auditee within the 4 auditees that are within the police portfolio that have had the MI process had already been started. We have for the Department of Police where we have issued a notification, and that matter does not have the full details because we are still waiting for the formal legal process that we are concluding, where the accounting officer has an opportunity to come back to us after 20 days and respond to a matter to the notification we've issued. This notification is due for the responses from the accounting officer on the 7th of March. So we're just saying as an oversight, just need to monitor the process as and when after they've given to us. So we are here to receive the accounting officer's response and evaluate them if they really have responded as per our recommendation of the notification we've issued. Some of just the recommendation for the portfolio committee, this relates to this one matter we're looking at, or even other future matters that may likely come up, is to request your regular feedback or detailed feedback on the progress so that the portfolio committee are able to track, if the desired outcomes have been achieved, to request the department or the entities to provide timely, specific and regular progress report on implementation of consequence management. If there's any specific internal controls or any weakness in the environment that was identified through the process, and how have those been properly mitigated. A comprehensive risk assessment management, and then the implementation of preventative controls. So in just a summary is to say, Chairperson, in most instances, or not in most instances, not all notifications or not all material irregularities are going to result in financial loss. I think at the first start of the implementation, I think the first 2 years, as the Office of the Auditor General, we were only implementing part of the definition, which is that one that speaks to the material loss that has occurred in the environment. But we have since, in the last year or two, have expanded it now to a fuller definition. So to say, in other instances, you'll find that the material irregularity is a financial loss, but there are other instances where we are actually dealing with the other element, which whether is harm, to the organization itself, harm to a resource that belongs to the public, or harm to even the public at large. So in those instances, we may identify it and say there's weakness in internal controls, or there's something that has occurred. So you must go rectify and correct those matters so that the irregularity does not continue to occur in future. The next summary is just some of the matters or some of the areas we've looked at. What we are saying, we've had conversations and discussion with our accounting officer just maybe a couple of weeks ago, but we're going to continue having this. So we've looked at the environment, or all our auditees, or majority of our auditees, where we've implemented this. And we said, where are we likely to see some of these irregularities occurring from? And then this is where we are likely to see. So from the lesson learned and what we've seen is to say areas like SCM and contract management, you're likely to have got issues that come there. Infrastructure projects, those are areas. Service delivery, when we're talking about possible harms, and all of that. Lease payments and other expenditure, contingent liabilities and provision. So, like I say, we've been having conversation at the strategic level with management. There are matters that are already out there in the public domain, like what I'm sort of projecting here. These are just the issues that everybody know. So the kind of conversation we are having is to say, how does the accounting officer then proactively manage some of the things that we already know exist in the environment? And these matters have a potential of meeting a potential, have a potential of being a material irregularities. What are just some of the controls that management need to now start already implementing and looking at them to actually see if they can at times avoid those matters that are likely to occur in the environment? So, Chairperson, this is just in summary to say, this is where we are with the material irregularity. And if anything or movement has occurred, like the one matter that is already with the accounting officer, or any others that come throughout the process, when in the next, I think, session, which is likely to be the BRRR later this year, we'll come back with 4 more details and we'll be reporting more on those material irregularities. I'd like to stop here with my presentation, and then I think we'll take questions and comments from the floor. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Nelly, for that very brilliant presentation and keeping us on our toes. Honorable members, we're not going to have many hands. You be allowed 1 question. Honorable Koza, it's your maiden appearance in the committee, so there'll be lots of leniency with you today, but only today. Next meeting will be treated like the rest. This is your first meeting, so I'm very good to you today. You can raise your hands now, honorable members. Do you have any further presentations? Auditor General?
Chairperson, no, we don't.
So you happy if I take questions now?
Yes, Chairperson.
Thank you. Raise your hands, please, members. Thank you, Ma'am. You can start. Honorable Whoop, Siabe, you next. Shaky Ma'am, you can start. Siabe and then Terblanche.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And thank you, and allow me to welcome the presentation. But I think the Office of the AG has made a very significant point, Chairperson, that unless South African police services are open and tell us exactly what the situation is on the ground, what needs to happen, what they need in order to achieve or combat crime, we're not going to solve this problem. For as long as we remain in denial that there's a serious and massive problem, and I know in bits and pieces, Minister has highlighted even recently that all different relevant stakeholders must come together. I think we are forgetting a very important point, and that's what I want to ask the department today. How are you going to, with the limited resources, with the high levels of unemployment in the country, with the socio-economic conditions under which our people live, the poor infrastructure, housing, water, sanitation, roads, lighting, and everything that goes with it, how and exactly how are you going to be able to reduce the levels of crime in this country? Now, added to that, Chairperson, I want to ask, is it possible that South African police services can look at professionalizing South African police services to the extent that you pay your officers a reasonable and satisfactory salary, deal with the issue of the danger allowance, which is 13 Rand a day, deal with the issue of your promotions, which sometimes take 20 and 30 years. Very importantly, Chairperson, many of these police officers are living either in the townships or in informal housing, posing a very serious risk. If you remember many years ago, we used to have housing facilities provided to police officers closest to where they work. So you could even have that rotation and corruption to do as far as that to create a more conducive environment. So police officers are more motivated. Let us not run away from the fact that they are performing one of the most riskiest jobs you can ever find today. Then the issue for me is the issue of, and what I find very often, there is no oversight mechanisms right from local government level, local police station level. What are you going to do about it? You know, we speak about load shedding, Chairperson. I'd like the department to tell us how many police stations countrywide, I've sent a written question, I haven't had an answer yet, are compliant or able to provide alternative energy supply through generators, and because most of these generators at the police station we have checked, KwaZulu-Natal is an ideal example, they don't work. They are relying on public works, and I agree with you, Chairperson, of your comment earlier on. It's time that SAPS took responsibility for maintenance and things, because it's not working under public works. Clearly, it's not. But I can tell you that most of these police stations that I contacted, including the one here in Goodwood as well, they don't have an alternative. They have generators. They just don't work. So what is it that you're going to do as far as ensuring that those backup facilities are provided? It's easy to say public works. Public works is not doing it, but your officers on the ground are bearing the brunt of it. And you know that crime increases during the time of load shedding. Now, with your limited resources, hearing what is happening with ESCOM and things, and I know SAPS is also planning to deploy officers all over. How are you going to be able to do that? Then the next question, I think I'll stop with the next one, Chairperson. Do you know that a lot of your police officers, I think over 1,000 of them in the Western Cape right now, have applied for jobs under the local law enforcement or the metro police and things, which means you're going to be losing a great percentage of your skilled staff and bringing in these inexperienced ones, the trainees, which is going to take you a period of time. And a lot of them are also retiring, coming of age, whatever it is. How do you intend dealing with those problems? But finally, tell us, you must be open, that it's all the other stakeholders have to come together to be able to solve the problem of crime. What we're not getting to is the root causes of why there's an escalation. I think it's unfair to expect South African police services to deal with this problem. But you need to be open and tell us the problem is much bigger than South African police services being able to deal with it. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Honorable Siabi, Terblanche and Majosi.
Thank you, Chair. And once more, good morning to all in the meeting. Let me also welcome the presentation from the Auditor General South Africa. My quick questions, Chair, are there, since the presentation of the audit outcomes, which was presented to us, are there material irregularities identified with SAPS? And if there are, what steps have been taken up to so far? And I see that in terms of their extended mandate, when the institution doesn't respond positively to what they've reported, they can report that to other agencies. Now, in the case of SAPS, where do you report? If SAPS, which also houses the Hawks, they don't respond, and you then say you have an extended mandate in terms of the law, where do you report that they are not coming to the party? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Siabi, thank you very much. Terblanche and then Majosi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me also start by commending the Auditor General for, I think it's quite encouraging also. Chairperson, I just want to know from the Auditor General, are they also looking into issues that is really making it impossible for the police to perform? And, you know, and the impact, for instance, you know, departments like public works, that is a serious obstacle. And then, you know, obviously also the computer, what is that place's name again? Anyway, departments like that, I think that is a serious impediment that the police cannot perform their functions anymore. And then the last question from my side, Chairperson, are they also looking into the processes that the police are still following to source, you know, certain needs that they need? And I'm thinking specifically about vehicles and stuff like that. I think some of the processes that are still being followed is really outdated and needs to be revisited. That is just my question for now, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Terblanche. Majosi, Honorable Majosi.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Due to network, don't switch my video on because I've been suffering with network. But mainly what I wanted before, maybe later, let me appreciate the report that we have received from the AG, and also state that on the last presentation, I saw that it says it's waiting for the accounting officer to give a report on what will be done, mitigated between all the findings. So what happens after you have received that report? Do you come back to the portfolio committee and say, this is the accounting officer has said and they will do these recommendations. And also, Chairperson, maybe not to per se ask a question, but to say that looking at the population of South Africa currently, I think maybe it's a discussion that we must get into, because if you look at our population and you look at the surplus of police officers that we have, it does not match. And also taking into consideration that we've got illegal foreigners that are here, they are not documented, obviously. All this crime that is happening, it has escalated to what it is now, because of now the population is more than what the government is offering in terms of the police officers. And also, Chair, I think also on our side, we appreciate that we have been given guidance on what is it that we should do on our oversight as the portfolio committee. And I think we must hold people accountable, Chairperson. But let us not forget that even if we can hold them to account, but bear in mind that we are dealing with illegal, undocumented foreigners who are doing God knows what in South Africa. And for as long as we are not, we do not want to zoom in on that discussion, we're not going to win this war of crime. And I would agree with other honorable members that with your middle class, whether you're teachers or nurses or police officers, we need to pay them enough that they are patriotic to work for South Africa, so that we eliminate also these police officers who are corrupt, because if you see what leads them to that, they take bribes, they do that, and which means the complaints are there that they are not paid enough as police officers. And also, maybe also with the DM, maybe if they can have a memo that would want to have continuity of other experienced police officers, because getting new people all the time, that is what is going to create a problem. Because these old detectives, and we heard the report from the minister that they are resigning, they are taking their packages and they are leaving the entity, of which it does not solve our problems, because we do need continuity within the department. Otherwise, we are going to be faced with this problem for the rest of our lives. Maybe in our strike plan, these are the things that we should be talking about, Chair, so that we mitigate between the department and the population of South Africa, and talk to other departments as well, because they are included here, your Home Affairs, your what, and find solution on how do we work around this undocumented people who are in South Africa, because they cause chaos, Chairperson. When you look at how crime has escalated, it tells you that there is a different type of crime that is happening in South Africa, and it then creates problems for us. But I would want us to take it maybe to our strict plan, be one of the things that we talk about. But let us keep them to account, all these other entities that are there that have been counted here, IPID and so forth, that they do account to us and make sure that all these findings that are there, maybe they try at least 80% to solve them. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Majosi. Honorable Shembeni.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. I'm sorry, I was giving my commander chance first. I thought that he was going to come in, but thank you very much.
Who must speak before? Who must speak? Between the two of you, who speaks first?
Chair.
Not now, but it depends.
I want to answer that.
Put on the hands, hey.
I'm
Can
not,
we agree?
yes.
No. Between you and Honorable Koza, can you agree that I will note it according to the hands you raise.
Okay, no, we will pass that. Thank you very much. For
Okay,
now,
and
yes.
then after
Thank
Honorable
you.
Shembeni, it is Honorable Marekwa.
Thank you, Chair. I was just checking, I did not hear anything that talks to the garages of the South African Police Services, because I've noted that this is the other part that it's letting us down. The state garages of the SAPS, where there is a lot of corruption. I think that we must hear something that makes changes as to how can we in-source something like to say we've got specific garages where we can take those vehicles like VWs must go to VW garage and in outsourcing them to these different garages where these vehicles are coming from. Toyota to Toyota, VW to VW, but specific garages that can deal with our vehicles. Now, number two, the quality of police officers that we are recruiting. This has totally changed altogether. Police is no longer a calling, according to what I see, but it's a job creation whereby we're dealing with unemployment. Now we're employed. So that is not the purpose why we have policing. Because policing, we must have quality police officers that are being investigated before they become police officers, because it does not mean that if you don't have or you were not arrested before or whatever does not make you a criminal. No. We've got criminals that have not yet been arrested, but we know that these are criminals. And if we can check, we will find that these people are criminals. Some you find that they are returned from the college. That is because proper investigation is not being done before these people are taken to the colleges. That's why today we are having such police officers. Look at the stats of those police officers that are always found or arrested to have committed crimes. Their ranks of these police is between sergeant and constable, always. So that gives us the reason to check thoroughly, is this person good to become a police officer that is doing the necessary investigations again to the community so that the community approves. But now, because of this corruption that we have, we approve the wrong people and leave the right people behind. That is the corruption in the recruitment of the police officers. The leadership and qualifications and the experience in our management, chairperson, we're still crying because we spoke about restructuring. Up until today, the SAPS is struggling to restructure. It's not restructuring, but instead, it's promoting members and at a senior level. So I think we need to deal with this issue, Honorable Chairperson, because it's going to give us a big problem. The South African Police Service, it's at the present moment struggling to lead, and thus it is creating a problem. The crime that is so high cannot be brought down or cannot combat crime as mandated by their mandate. So it's a very big problem. There is no vetting. The former National Commissioner who Ubabusithole, before he resigned or before he was fired, I don't know how to call it, he gave an instruction for the senior management to apply for their positions in order for them to show us their qualifications and so that they can be vetted. But that did not happen up until today. Lastly, the comparisons to other countries in terms of salaries and ranks. If South Africa took a rank structure of Australia, why did they choose to take a rank structure and leave the salaries behind? Because if they took the salaries or the rank structure of Australia, a constable is supposed to earn 35,000 and above. And then you took the rank structure, you take the rank structure, you leave the salaries behind and other things. This is the one thing that makes our country or our police to behave just like this. Because what is supposed to happen is not happening. And what I've noticed also is the changing of the top management or the leadership above. Each and everyone that comes in comes with his purpose and with his policies and so on. Yes, we do have the constitution that says that we must behave, and the SAPS does have, yes, its sections that says the regulations and whatever the acts, but the leaders there, they do as it pleases them, not working according to the law that prescribes them to work accordingly, according to section so and so or act number so and so. So if I'm Shembeni, I'm going to do things my way, not according to the act in the South African Police Service. So this is another serious thing because as I'm saying, I've asked a question of which it's unnecessary to ask it now, but that one actually needed an answer in this platform.
Honorable
To say-
Shembeni, I'm asking for you to round up. Sorry for interrupting you.
Thank you very much. Chairperson, can the National Commissioner tell us what is happening between level 9 and level 11 of the SAPS? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Marekwa.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to all participants on the platform. And good morning in particular to the DM, who is also here, and the Acting Commissioner from the police. Chair, I'll try to be brief. Maybe let me start by welcoming the presentation by the Nelly Siwe from the Auditor General's Office. Also, my input, Chair, I would like to start on the slide. There's a slide that talks to implementation of material irregularity. No, that's the second one. The one that has got the accountability ecosystem role players. When looking into that slide, Chairperson, there are a number of parties or departments or structures that needs to be playing a role in all that angle. It's like, that's drawing up the operations, coordination, monitoring, independent oversight, and so on. But what I like most, what they have included there, Chairperson, is the part that talks to active citizenry, because it makes one to also realize, and for us to realize that we can put all parties, all state organs, all organizations or departments together. But if we don't have a role where the citizens are acknowledged or are accommodated to play a particular role, fighting crime in our societies or in our country will take time and will not be easy to solve. So I think that is the part of act of citizenry, where we need to continuously encourage and empower communities to know and understand that they have a role to play in all the work that deals with fighting crime in our communities. So I want to applaud them, to appreciate that part there, that they have not left the citizens of the country out of all the planning, out of the fight against crime. Moving to the next slide, Chairperson. Sorry for that, I'm struggling here with my gadgets. The next slide that talks to implementing of material irregularities. I think for Ms. Chairperson, not wanting to go into details, the slide talks to or also guiding in terms of the work that needs to be done by the Auditor General's office. And it also provides some bits of recommendation. What is it that needs to be done and so on. But all through their slides, I think it empowers the SAPS as a department to know what to do and what to do when things are not going right, to an extent where I think that it also recommends issues of consequence management, because when there is failure for a sector or a unit, commander or member or so on, not doing something, there must be action taken, and such actions, that is what the auditor office want to see being reflected, and what is it that has been done in terms of dealing with failure to perform or do what one is expected to do. And then towards the last slide, there's a slide that unfortunately I did not take the number, that talks to identified IMIS next step and responsibility, observations and so on. I think on that slide share, there are also recommendations for the portfolio committee that talks to the police or the entity being able to report, having regular reports and feedback on progress and so on, that the PC, which is the portfolio committee, can monitor. And I think the SAPS have been doing that from time to time, but maybe I think from the Office of the Auditor, they're just re-emphasizing the point that there needs to be feedback or reports coming to the portfolio committee, and which is very important also, Chair. And that I think those recommendations as a committee, we need also to check and see whether there is compliance from time to time in terms of what the Auditor General's office is recommending that the police as a department does, in order finally to have like those preventative controls or measures in terms of performance and how they do the work as a department, being the SAPS. So I think those recommendations needs to be looked into, including both committee and the police service as part of making sure that they do keep the committee informed and that they report regularly in terms of their performance and so on. I think those are just recommendations. So those will be my input for now, Chairperson. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, honorable members. The team of the Auditor General, those are very substantial questions, but I am respectfully requesting that you condense your responses. You can also send us more responses in writing, and we will then engage with you in this fashion. I still have to take quite a number of items on the agenda. And as we indicated, and you were part of the meeting, that our time slots are very difficult, and I have so much to cover. And every time we meet, the honorable members add more and more and more items on my list. Members, now, you know, when you give me an instruction, you know, I go and I implement your instructions. But now, really, honorable members, I'm now having to work very hard to attend to all your requests. So, Auditor General, my apologies, but can you just be very concise in your responses? Thank you. No, I'm not taking more hands. These ones, Honorable Siabesh and Benny Shaky, ma'am, you can lower your hands now.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Yes, let me quickly just give a quick condensed response to some of the questions. Maybe regarding the question of the report from Honorable Majosi and Honorable Siabi, specifically what happens when we issue the report and then from there. So from our side, how the process works, and I think this is the most important question I wanted to touch on, is the fact that so we've issued the notification now through to the accounting officer. The accounting officer then has 20 days to give us his response in terms of how they were dealing with the matter, what internal controls do they have, what internal controls do they propose in the future to implement, what consequence management are they doing, what investigations are they doing, and if there was a suspected or an actual financial loss, how are they planning then on recovering that specific loss. So that is the next step. We will then assess those responses, and then if those responses are adequate, then we will just follow the process through to the next audit to make sure whether or not those specific actions that was mentioned by the accounting officer is then being implemented. If we then pick up that the accounting officer, let's say for example, is not honoring those commitments, we can then move through to remedial action, and then the remedial action is then where we will make it a legal process for the accounting officer to actually enforce and to follow through. And should the accounting officer then still not do that specific process by honoring the remedial action, we are then in our powers and rights in terms of the amended Public Audit Act for us to issue a letter of demand from the accounting officer himself. So maybe that was just to explain the process in a nutshell. Maybe then to also indicate, usually when we refer matters, so one of the members were referring to who will we refer the matters to. So we have got the mandate ourselves to complete this process. In the likes that we find that we might not have the necessary expertise for a specific matter, or that we don't have the capacity, we are then allowed, according to the Public Audit Act, to refer it to other institutions like the Hawks, etc., and those ones. So I think at this point in time, we do take note of some of these legislative bodies do sit within the police portfolio. So those are some of the things we will have to consider if we find that we might not have the necessary resources or the necessary skills as required for that specific matter. At this point in time, we have not identified anything like that. So it's not something for us to look into. But yeah, if such an opportunity does come through or such a matter does come through, we will then obviously have to mitigate the risk of independence of who we are referring it to, and to make sure that we're referring it to a body that is then independent from the police portfolio. But like I mentioned, at this point in time, we have not identified anything like that. And we do deal with each and every material irregularity on its own merit and then own case. So I think I just wanted to highlight that because I picked up that was one of the, or two of the questions that actually came out from the honourable members. Then looking into the issues regarding the lack of performance or the reliance on other departments, for example, that Honourable Terblanche raised regarding the matters of, let's say, public works or SITA. At this point in time, what we look at is that we will identify. So obviously, we audit the annual performance report, we audit the financial statements and the compliance thereof, and any enabling legislation as a requirement from the department to comply with. So if we pick up matters like that, we do highlight it through to the appropriate structures. For instance, we had last year, there were some of the indicators regarding the forensic labs, where there was mentioned that the conditions of the forensic labs are not being maintained by the Public Works Department. So we have highlighted those matters through to those charged with governance for them to be aware of it and to take note, and then to see how do we either hold Public Works accountable, or how do we implement alternative processes to at least ensure that the police service can start execute their mandate as well as required with the specific matter. So that is some of the things we look at, and then we bring it to the attention of the appropriate structure. One other question or comment I wanted to say is that, so the material irregularities, and what is important for the portfolio committee to take note of, is that the material irregularity process is a process that is driven from the Auditor General's office. So we will engage the accounting officer, we will get the necessary responses, we will evaluate, and then we will then determine, let's say the accounting officer responses is appropriate and they've dealt with the matter adequately, we will then obviously from our side say that this material irregularity has been resolved. But where the portfolio committee's responsibility comes in is that while this process is continuing, it will be a recommendation from our side for the portfolio committee to maybe ask the accounting officer to report on the status of those material irregularities, as how often what the portfolio committee might see beneficial quarterly or monthly, or whatever you feel you need to exercise your oversight over. But I think it's quite important for the portfolio committee to take note of this process and to make sure that at least you are also monitoring from your side the compliance and the necessary action that is required to resolve these material irregularities as and how they are being raised and also being addressed by the department and also from the Auditor General's office. I think just one recommendation to take note of for the portfolio committee specifically is to maybe ask the accounting officer in a quarterly to maybe report back to the portfolio committee on the status of any issued material irregularities, what is being done, and also what is the responses from the Auditor General side. So just to make sure that from the portfolio committee side, you're also then executing your oversight regarding these specific matters that we have raised that might lead to potential harm to the department or potential harm to the public or significant financial losses. So I think I just wanted to maybe just add that some of the other questions I felt like was more directed to the department. But yeah, I hope I've answered everybody's question. Also try to keep it as short as possible. And I thank you very much for inviting us, Honourable Chair and Honourable Member.
Thank you very much to the Auditor General's team. We appreciate your attendance and your input. We are always wiser after we have met with you, but we always also cognizant of the fact that so much has to be done, and our oversight role cannot be underestimated. We take responsibility for this. You have really given us sufficient indicators of what needs to be done, and we appreciate this. Thank you very much. Those of you who would like to stay, you are welcome to stay. Thank you, Eugene. And your team, if you would like to be released, you are released now. And please convey our appreciation to all those who have also contributed to the work, and for the office for allowing you to spend so much time with us today. You are released. DM, can you introduce the next item on the agenda, please?
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to members. Without further ado, I will request that through you, we allow the Acting National Commissioner, DNC Musigidi, to lead in the presentation of our third quarter expenditure and performance report. Over to you, General Musigidi, through you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Please, General, no long introductions. We know all of you. If you could just start and be as concise and brief as possible. Cover all the required areas. Don't leave anything naked, but please, I don't want a long dress, an evening gown, something which is very precise, concise, exact. These long pages of yours. Nicolette, could you start giving SAPS instructions on how many pages they have to present to me? Last week, DM, you came with nearly 50 slides. Do you think now, really, DM, can you please have some discussion? DM, do you think it's unfair of me to ask this? Is DM here?
I'm here, Chair. I'm saying you are
50
suggesting.
slides.
No, you are suggesting that we should present in such a manner that we are mindful that there are time constraints without missing important areas. We should be brief, but make sure we give you the necessary details. I think it's a fair request. We will try and do that. Thank you, Chair.
DM, the request is also that we have been very lenient. You send us about 50 slides. So could you talk to your team? How do we deal with 50 slides whenever you present? And then we rush through it. They can really, some things we can add as an attachment, but then the presentation doesn't be that long. You bring
No
me
problem, Chair. We note your
50
concern.
slides. DM, I'm not being unreasonable, but 50 slides is a bit too much for me. So
No,
my
you are not
apologies.
unreasonable.
All right, you may continue.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I will just introduce the presenters, and I must say it is noted the instruction and request in Chairperson, and I'm going to request General Rabi, General Mawela, and General Muthala to take us through the three presentations as directed, and to be as brief as possible. Chair, I believe that most of the issues of the introduction are known to the committee by now. We'll just go straight to the issues of pertinent nature that we need to address on these presentations. Chairperson, with your approval, I will hand over to Major General Rabi, Strategic Management, to lead the first presentation, and General Mawela will then come in, the Provincial Commissioner of Gauteng, and the Divisional Commissioner Muthala, the Divisional Commissioner of Vehicle and Operations. Over to you, Generals.
Good morning, Chairperson, honourable members of the committee, our Deputy Minister in attendance, and senior management of SAPS. Chair, I will immediately go to slide number 4, where we just give an indication of the total expenditure of the vote. 28 at the end of December 2022, we were standing at 72.8%. What we have included in the presentation, Chair, is at the end, you will note that we also focus on expenditure up to the end of January, that we consider that will give you a more recent picture. There's a total budget of 102 billion allocated, and we have an expenditure of 80.9%, as it is reflected in the last table, with all the programs spending between 80 and 82.8% in terms of their respective responsibilities. If we look at the areas, quickly on the spending within the programs, vehicle procurement is affecting all the respective programs, and within program 1 there are issues around CETA, payment of CETA and the capital work programs that we will touch on. And then in the spending on the CJS funding within program 3, within program 4 and 5, it is primarily compensation that's your main driver. Moving to slide number 7, where we look at spending according to the item classifications, that is your current expenditure, transfer and subsidies, payment of capital assets and financial transactions and assets and liabilities. You will note that on current expenditures, that we have a spending of 81.4%, transfer and subsidies 106%, payment of capital assets 56%, and that totals to 80.9%. What is affecting that, if you look at the overall items that has been listed, compensation of employees, we are fairly on track, but we still have to process some of the HR activities such as promotions. Looking at goods and services, there is problems in terms of the spending within your criminal justice strategy, where we might not realize in full. There was a delay in the payment of public invoices that has since been resolved and currently being attended to. Transfers and subsidies, we were on 106%. And what we would like to highlight there is that the issues that affected that is the higher than anticipated payment of claims within the Marikana domain, amounting to 117 million that has been settled, and we are still dealing with outstanding complaints. Capital assets, there's a delay in some of the infrastructure projects. I've already made reference to the payment of the vehicle deliveries that we identify in terms of production, where the production companies cannot deliver, but we are in process of dealing with that. The IJS technology funding, there are still outstanding service level agreement commitments that are being attended to, and we might not be spending all the IJCS allocated funding as a result of that, but it's also being attended to. Chair, we highlighted some, the building environment, we highlighted some of the challenges on slide 13 and 14 with the mitigating actions that has been implemented by the department, and the issues that is affecting our capital works is your appointment of consultants, and then for instance, your local sites.
Can you mute your mics? I'm listening to a conversation. Someone is having a conversation. Can you mute your mic, please? You may continue, Rabi.
Thank you, ma'am. Chair, we will then look at organizational performance in terms of the various programs. I will then immediately move to slide, oh yes, the number is not visible, the one where we have the overall performance. You will note that we have achieved in the third quarter 72% of the targets that we've identified as a department. The areas of concern is the 7 indicators where we did not achieve the targets in program 4, and 13 of the indicators within program 4 where we did not achieve the targets. So if you look at the next slide, you will note that the environments that are contributing to those problematic areas include visible policing or detective service and forensic, where we have lower than 60% achievement of targets, forensic services standing on 22%. We have provided, Honourable Chair, an executive summary, but I want to touch on some of the detail further in the presentation, so I'm going to skip that one and move then to program 1. In the program,
Apologies, Honourable Work. Can you just assist with chairing? I have to take an emergency call. Thank you. Honourable Work.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
Thanks.
May I continue, Chair?
Yes, continue, Major General.
When we look at program 1 administration, Honourable Chair, we've achieved 83% of the targets that is in that specific domain. And in the areas of training, we've achieved our targets, the iPad implementations, the establishment of high sites, all those specific targets has been achieved. We had no incidents of unauthorized expenditure. There was 0 incidents of irregular expenditure, and we are also on track with our audits and our inspections. The areas of non-achievement within program 1 is firearm losses, where we have noted a loss of 543 firearms up to the end of the first quarter. That is higher than anticipated. We have also not achieved the success in terms of the closed circuit television sites, where we are below the set target. There was also 88 incidents of fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Just want to highlight that 67 of the 88 incidents relate to the interest payable on claims against the state, but the corrective measures that I'm not going through, will not be going through, are also then reflected there in terms of correcting the situation. Moving to program 2, the visible policing environment, Honourable Chair, we've achieved 69% of the targets, or 16. In terms of the areas where we did achieve the targets, we have recovered 3,151 stolen firearms, 165 identifiable SAPS firearms that were stolen. We've closed in the third quarter 10,178 identified illegal liquor outlets. We recovered 23,343 vehicles. Our CPFs, we have at 99% of our police station have functional CPFs. If you look at your border policing and our specialized operations, in terms of the profiling of vehicles and cargo, etc., at your land ports, seaports, and airports, we have responded to all the requests that has been received. Peaceful crowd management, we attended to a total of 1,708 incidents, and unrest crowd incidents, a total of 458. Moving to the areas of non-achievement in the visible policing environment, the application of firearm licenses, we've achieved 71% to be processed within 120 working days. That is below the target. The reported contact crime in the first 9 months, Chair, has increased by 10.6%, and taking into account that we are chasing a target that is focusing on the reduction of contact crime. We've also noted an increase in crimes against women by 15.7% and crimes against children by 25%. Escapes from police custody, we note an increase in terms of against the set target, and we have recorded so far in the first 9 months a total of 439 escapes. The other area that I would like to touch on is our victim-friendly facilities or services to victims of crime, where almost half of the police stations in the country currently do not render a victim-friendly service in terms of the set criteria. Going to the detective service environment, Honourable Chair, we've achieved 51% of the targets in this environment. The areas where we did achieve the target is the tracing of wanteds in the top 30 high crime stations. There we have a notable increase in the arrest for illicit dealing in drugs. Our buccal samples, taking of buccal samples, we are on par. And then the finalization of person-to-crime DNA, crime-to-crime DNA investigative leads, fingerprints, and other investigative leads. There we are also achieving the targets that we set. The non-routine case exhibits, Chair, we are processing those at a rate of 70.87% within 113 days. The trial ready. This is now within the DPCI environment, trial ready for serious corruption, 84%. Serious corruption within the private sector is 77%, and 84% trial ready case dockets for serious corruption within the JCPS cluster. So in that regard, they've achieved their targets. We're also achieving a trial ready case docket rate for commercial crime, 66.57%. They've also finalized 72% of the serious cyber-related crime support files within 90 calendar days. The areas that are problematic is our detection rate for contact crime, that is standing at 45%. Now, unfortunately, there's also a factual detection rate for women and children. Detection rate for crimes against women, we are 68%, and for children, we are at 61.42%. We are also experiencing problems in terms of the processing of guilty verdicts at the Criminal Record Center, where we are standing at 93%. We are just below the set target. Our routine case exhibits finalized within 35 calendar days was at 18.83%, and as a result of that, we are starting to see, backlogs developing in that specific environment. Your backlogs in terms of case exhibits not yet finalized was standing now at 76.72%. Now, what that means is that out of the 280,000 records that were being analyzed at the end of the quarter, 215,000 of those have now exceeded the standard time that we have set for the processing of those exhibits. Our DNA case exhibit backlog is standing at 56%, so that means out of the 108,000 records at the end of the quarter, 61,000 of those have exceeded the time frame allocated. DNA biology intelligence case exhibits finalized within 90 days. Our target is 80%, we've achieved 73.12. And then in terms of the dismantling of identified clandestine laboratories by DPCI, they have achieved 86.36%, or 19 out of 22. In the crime intelligence environment, Chair, we have achieved all the targets in terms of the security clearances, the security assessments, and the overt physical security assessments. We've also achieving the targets in terms of generating both proactive and reactive intelligence reports, and we have responded to all the requests that we have received from Interpol. It is only the one area in terms of network operations where we finalized 40.56%. At 38.26%, while our target was set at 40.56%. So that's the only area in the CI environment. Moving to protection and security services, Chair, we had achieved all the targets. We had no security breaches in both the protection and security services environment, and as well as presidential protection, that is in terms of in-transit as well as static protection. And we have also in that domain audited all the strategic installations and national key points that were targeted for evaluation within the third quarter. In terms of some of the annual targets, it's just the 3 police stations that are closing in terms of their completion by the end of the financial year. We have distributed 21 mobile contact points relative to 15 in the targets. And the progress in terms of the corporate governance framework will be provided at the end of this specific quarter. We have also initiated the traditional policing concept in Limpopo as targeted, and 11% of the identified drug syndicates were neutralized, and 8 identified organized criminal groups were also neutralized from a total of 37. Now, all of these will be reported on as they are annual targets at the end of the financial year. Chair, thank you. That concludes our presentation on issues that deals with expenditure as well as performance. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Acting National Commissioner.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. That concludes the first part of our presentation. If agreed, Chairperson, if we can take all the presentations so that when we respond to all of them. The next 2 presentations are very short presentation. Those will relate to the feedback on petitions that have been received. One being Leondale residents on the police station that will be taken through by General Mawela, and the next one, gender-based violence, that will be presented by General Mushala. Chairperson, if you agree, we will allow the 2 colleagues to take us through a very short and to the point. Chairperson, thank you.
Agreed.
Greetings, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, Lieutenant General Mawela here, and greetings to the Deputy Minister, Acting National Commissioner, and everyone on the platform. Thank you for the opportunity. If we can move straight to the next slide, which talks to the residents of Leon. Can go back. The residents of Leondale, Jamestown, Ekurhuleni, calling on the Assembly to investigate the provision of a police station or a satellite police station to combat the high crime rate in their area. Next slide, please. Our response is that on 2019-03-06, a work study investigation was approved for a fully fledged police station in Rondebelt, 7 Leondale under Alberton SAPS. R5846 in Rode extension 23 was identified for the new police station after the site visit with the ward councillor. The ward councillor indicated that the Department of Education would donate the property to the SAPS. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure Development was contacted to transfer the property. The police station is number 26 on the revised Gauteng User Assessment Management Plan for 2023-2024. Alberton SAPS received a mobile community service center in March 2022 in response to the community's request while waiting for the land and the police station building. And one Alberton sector vehicle is assigned daily in Sector 3, which includes Leondale, Pumla, Ruodekop, and Rondebelt, so that it must service that community. I submit, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, General Mawela. General Ravi.
Thank you, Chairperson. The next speaker will be General Mutlala. General Mutlala, take the platform, sir. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, Honorable Deputy Minister, the Acting National Commissioner, all senior managers on the platform, protocol observed. The presentation will deal with the following issues. It is the members of the Operation Dudula in Western Cape calling on Parliament to address the plight of GBVF in South Africa. Can go to the next slide. The next slide, Honorable Chairperson, deals with the number of ministerial imbizos that were conducted by both the Minister and the Deputy Minister in Western Cape, Gauteng, Limpopo. We can proceed to the next slide. On the next slide, Honorable Chairperson, it is dealing with the SAPS Integrated Sexual Offences and GBF Action Plan with focus areas, which are 6, namely crime data. Sorry, the first one is enhancing policy frameworks. The second one, training and development of members. Focus 3, enhancing accountability and organizational performance on GBVF cases. Focus 4, prevention of gender-based violence and sexual offenses. Focus area 3, responsive care and victim support. The focus area 6, crime data analysis and research. We can go to the next slide. On the next slide, Honorable Chairperson and members, it is the conceptual framework, which is focusing on the following: the GBVF National Strategic Plan, the GBVF Emergency Response Action Plan, the SAPS Integrated Sexual Offences and GBVF Action Plan, Integrated Sexual Offences and GBVF Strategy. You can go to the next slide. On the next slide, Honorable Chairperson, members, it's progress on GBVF Action Plan deliverables, which is focusing on the deliverables of the action plan. We can see here in this slide that for the fully implemented, we have 7 that has been achieved, and then for significant progress we have 9, and then progress where there is a fair progress that has been achieved is 2, where there is little progress there is 2, and then where there is no progress but is receiving the necessary attention is 1. Next slide. And on this slide, Honorable Chairperson and members, it indicates that 76% of deliverables are fully implemented and showing significant progress, and the 7 areas of performance are mentioned on the slide. You can go to the next slide. On the next slide, Honorable Chairperson and members, it is just the governance, starting firstly with the SAPS Steering Committee on GBVF, where we are indicating that actually this National Steering Committee is established and is co-chaired by myself, the Divisional Commissioner for Vessel Reports and Operations and Detective and Forensic Services, and it comprises of all the relevant role players within the department. You can go to the next slide. On the next slide, Honorable Chairperson, it just also indicate that except for the steering committee, we also have an interdivisional forum, which is actually supporting the steering committee. We can go to the next slide. On the next slide, Honorable Chairperson and members, is the training, which is focusing on the capacitation of members handling all these cases, either as frontline services or as detectives to investigate cases. Hence, we have both proactive type of training and also reactive, which is focusing more, the proactive one is focusing more on frontline services members, and then reactive training interventions are focusing more on the detectives so that they can be able to be empowered in terms of training. The training interventions are mentioned on both categories of proactive and reactive. We can go to the next slide. On the next slide, Honorable Chairperson and members, is just an indication of the training interventions that members trained for Q1 to 3 of 2022-2023. We can see there, Honorable Chairperson, that the total number of members that have been trained is 24,650. And then those that were declared competent after the training intervention, there are 24,616. And then the training interventions are mentioned, including even the relevant provinces, including head office, where the training was provided. We can go to the next slide. On the next slide, Honorable Chairperson, is a complaints mechanism. On this slide, we're indicating mechanisms that we're using as South African Police Service for the complaints to be processed. We have station management. Complaints can be communicated to the inspectorate by means of the following. On the station management level, we have that capacity via the WhatsApp on that following number, and then also the email address, including also another toll-free number that is provided, including my SAPS app. We can go to the next slide. On the next slide, Honorable Chairperson is dealing with notable GBVF-related cases. We can see here, Honorable Chairperson, that from April to December 2022, for the category of 1 to 20 years and up, we have 12,481 years in prison for 1,156 cases and 1,009 accused persons. Life sentences, we have 281 life sentences in 219 cases with 185 accused persons. And then 12,968 offenders were apprehended. We can go to the next slide. The next slide, Honorable Chairperson, is dealing with the conclusion. And on the conclusion, Honorable Chairperson and members, we are indicating that as the SAPS, we are prioritizing the issue handling of the gender-based violence-related cases, either through our proactive and reactive training capacitation of members, but including also the victim crime awareness campaigns, especially focusing more on all our contact crime hotspots within the country, and that the division detective and forensic investigates all these cases, and hence we can see that there is a very impressive sentences there by the members of our FCS. Also, all serious offenses investigators are instructed to ensure that they prepare themselves to successfully oppose bail, and then that all investigators must safeguard all official documents, including dockets, so that when we present all these dockets to the court, we can actually achieve a successful prosecution. With that said, Honorable Chairperson, that's our submission. Thank you very much, Acting National Commissioner and Honorable DM.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. This is the presentation as prepared by the South African Police Service. Just to indicate on the last presentation that we may have omitted one imbizo on GBV that was GBV and F that was conducted in Mpumalanga, Mazulu, that will then make to the number of interventions that were done in a form of imbizos to 7, Chairperson. Thank you very much. And thanks, GM.
Thanks, Acting National Commissioner and the team. Chairperson, those are the presentations that we had. Thanks, PC Mawela and General Mutala for those presentations. Thanks very much. Over to you, Chairperson.
Thanks very much, DM. Let me check whether the petitioners are on the platform. The ones from Ikuruleni, so that you can submit your comments. Are you on the platform?
Good morning, Chairperson and all honourable members present. Yes, we are, and Councillor Kate Guerrero is going to lead our discussion.
Okay. Quickly, can we get your submission? Councillor Correro. Seemingly is not connected. Councillor Correro. If there's nobody to present, I'm going to pass.
Sorry, Chair. Yeah, he said he's just forgot to unmute. He's unmuting now. No, you're not. Just unmute, please.
Yeah.
Why are you not arriving?
Yeah, I'll try.
DM.
I'm sorry, Chair.
Sorry, Chairperson. Councillor Guerrero said it doesn't allow him to unmute. If somebody could kindly assist him. Says only the host can unmute.
I can see it's unmuted. Mute, unmute, mute, unmute. Is unmuted now. Can you continue quickly? Councillor Correro. Otherwise, let me invite, in the meantime, let me invite the petitioners from the Western Cape. We seem to be having a problem with the Councillor Correro.
Yes,
Anybody from the Western Cape on GPVF? Lieutenant General Kwena, please mute. Seemingly, we have challenges with our petitioners. I see Councillor Guerrero is unmuted, but we can't hear anything. Can I give honorable members to interact with the presentations? If there are questions, input on the presentation. Honorable Terplanch.
Chairperson, thank you. Yeah, while we're waiting for the petitioners, I want to start there. And, you know, if we go now to the Leondale Police Station, the provincial commissioner indicated that they have, you know, that is only their priority number 26. Remember, that's on a provincial basis. Now, this priority competes on the national list with all the other priorities. And what we noticed is, you know, this morning is that the public works, they are battling to finalize 4 new police stations per annum. Now, I think all of us will be long dead and buried by the time that we eventually get to this police station, if it continues the way that it goes. I just want to mention that. So, I don't know what they'll have to have a discussion with the police management, because obviously only funded projects is going to be tackled, that will be pursued. And so that is the thing that possibly the police management will have to decide about. Then, Chairperson, if we take now the gender-based violence, I'm quite happy to see that there is a plan, and the plan is implemented to a large extent. And there's also, we were also, you know, shown results. And in some instances, it's a lot of people that has been, you know, arrested, found guilty, serving sentences and stuff like that. My question regarding that is, to what extent, if any, has that sort of contributed to a decrease in the number of those type of cases? Because if my memory serves me right, we're still dealing with an increase. And if that's the case, obviously, we are glad once again that there is a plan, but, you know, possibly that plan will have to be revisited or fine-tuned or whatever to, you know, cater for, you know, the increase that is going on in the meantime still. Then getting to the police's presentation on the expenditure, Chairperson, it is, we see we still are encountering problems in the supply chain management environment. You know, a lot of things, it's there. So there is still a challenge. And then obviously the detectives, they are also still battling. And I'm also glad to see that there are efforts to train the detectives and whatever. But I mean, once again, it does not yield the results that is needed to make an impact on those crimes. And then lastly, Chairperson, this is just a broad, you know, observation from my side. You know, the visible policing, there's still a lot, you know, that needs to be done. People are complaining, people, you know, they don't get through to police stations if they phone. And if they get to police station, quite often they are, you know, dealing there with people that are not properly trained or experienced to assist the public. So I'm glad to see that the police are really trying to do something. But there are a lot of challenges, and I, you know, would appeal to the DM and also the acting national commissioner that they will have to, you know, still keep, you know, pushing and pushing very hard. And from the committee side, Chairperson, I will recommend that we allow them to, at some stage, come back again and, you know, just indicate to us the inroads that have been made in the meantime. Thank you, Chairperson.
Chairperson, it's Councillor Kate Guerrero. Please confirm if I'm audible.
The member is audible. The member is audible. You are audible.
Thank you, Chairperson. So, Chairperson, as I said, my name is Councillor Kate Guerrero. I'm from the city of Ekurhuleni. Please allow me to firstly thank the committee for giving us the opportunity to go through our petition. So, with regards to our petition, Leondale is in the Ward 40 area within the city of Ekurhuleni. This falls outside of the belt within the closest SAPS police station. Thus, the station that services the Leondale area is the Alberton police station. Due to this distance, it means that crime is most often unattended or takes hours to help residents, often causing loss of life or property. This is due to the time that it takes for a SAPS vehicle to be dispatched and make its way to the Leondale area. The closest police stations around the Leondale area are Ellsberg, they're 8.8 kilometers away. Katlehong police station, they're 7.7 kilometers away. The Vosloorus police station, they're 9.7 kilometers away. Alberton police station, which is the one that services Leondale, is 11.2 kilometers away. And the Germiston police station is 14 kilometers away. This, of course, gives us the indication as to how long it can take for a vehicle to attend. Recently, a resident in the Leondale area said that she waited over 3 hours before a vehicle arrived to attend to a situation that she was having around gender-based violence. With regards to Ward 40, the population is 22,111 as per the 2011 census. It has a 16.62 square kilometer radius. It has 1,365 people per kilometer. It's got 7,139 households, of which 20.2% are informal houses, 53.3% are unemployed, and 6,911 are children. Obviously, with the aspect of taking this into consideration, it shows that Alberton's police station is struggling to handle their own area, let alone taking on the work that is required for another area. And this is, of course, why myself as well as the community put forward this petition to ask that we could have something closer, for the sake that there isn't any station that is close by. And this is, of course, why we put our petition through. I thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Thanks very much. Anyone from Western Cape? Still, we don't have anybody. Babalwa, can you double check whether there's somebody on GPV from Western Cape, one of the petitioners? But in the meantime, let me continue recognizing honorables. Honorable Marekwa. Okay, I see.
Thank you, Chair.
I see.
Thank you, Chair.
Before that,
thank you, Chair. May I proceed?
Wait a bit. I see Alta de Beer. You want to add?
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. We are very grateful that the petition was considered and it is now on the list for a new police station. We also noted the one vehicle that's been assigned in Sector 3, which service Pumela, Rudekop, Rudebold, and Leondale. That is actually quite a vast area. And I would like to request that we maybe consider another vehicle for that area. As Councillor Kate is saying, you know, we've got quite a high unemployment, and we know with unemployment there's always more crime and more gender-based violence. And also because of the distance to the police stations, we understand that there are a lot of crime that are not being reported because the residents cannot get to the police station because transport, as we all know, areas are always problematic, especially if people don't have money to get a taxi to go to the police station. So also in terms of the satellite police station, maybe a mobile unit that can be based in Leondale that could also assist the neighboring suburb, which is Buchle Park. Yes, so if the committee could kindly consider that. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Recording in progress.
Honorable Marekwa.
No, thank you, Chairperson. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Mine will be an input on the presentation from SAPS. What I've picked up, maybe let me start by appreciating the report, the presentation, and start with my input. It won't be many issues. There's a slide where I've noted that there are meetings that are held between the SAPS, the public safety MECs, and the municipalities. I think it is very important, and maybe to comment that particular engagement. But what is important for me from my side is that these engagements must actually assist and help in bearing visible fruits. The fruits that I'm talking to is making sure that the involvement of all in the crime fighting. Because when you talk of municipality, I know I've raised the issue of the involvement of municipalities, I think last week. It is important that their role in fighting crime is felt, because the drugs and use of alcohol in our societies at that level of the municipalities continue to be a problem in our communities. And I believe that they can play a greater role in assisting the SAPS. It should not just be meeting of planning, but the implementation, because we live in townships, we go there, we interact with many friends, families, and so on. We see what is happening, how people just use alcohol in the streets, and it's like there is no action that is being taken to make sure that we minimize these ills within our communities before they become bigger. So I think these meetings must really deal with the issues that affect communities at the local government level. And that involvement of municipalities is very important and crucial in these engagements. The other ones, the slide at number 12, that the engagements with public works. I think the role of the Department of Public Works should not just be about renting out or providing property and collecting money, whether at the end of the month or so on. But public works must assist the SAPS and make sure that they start to ensure that the regular maintenance of all buildings that are used by the SAPS. You go to these police stations, whether bigger ones or the satellite police stations, most of the buildings do not look good. Police on duty do not even feel the sense of safety, even inside those stations. Even when you go in, you can just clearly see that there is not a lot of measures around safety of people working within those particular police stations. It's even worse during night shift. People come in and out, and there is no proper measures put to safeguard even those who are working within the police station. So I think the role of public works in this area must really be, start to show that they are serious in making sure that these buildings take shape and are in continuous maintenance. The other last point that I want to make, Chairperson, there's a slide that talks to the 543 SAPS-owned firearms that are confirmed as stolen or lost. Now, my question or clarity that I would like to seek is to know, is there a breakdown as to which stations or provinces are continuing to experience this, because I don't think the whole number of 543 should be is coming from one area or from one province. So maybe if we can be provided with a breakdown to say which of the stations in the country experience this loss or firearms being stolen. Those will be my input, Chairperson. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Majosi.
No, thanks, Chair. Mine would be quick. It's on the, I think it's Honorable Maguera spoke of the issue of safety of police stations, which then has a negative impact in terms of the communities. I will take it on the general of Gauteng, General Mawela, that there are a case in scenario of a police station in Jabulani, Soweto, where at 8 o'clock, I'm not sure they are dealing with renovations but at 8 o'clock night, they lock the gates, which then has a negative impact on the community, because if the gates are locked, how are they supposed to then come in and report the crimes that are happening? So I wanted to put General Mawela on that can
Honorable Seabi, Chairperson.
look at that issue that is happening in Soweto. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much. Those are the only hands I have for inputs and questions. I'm going to request SAPS to respond, but maybe before that, let me add that according to General Mawela's presentation, the process of building a police station started in 2019. And up to now, there's no progress. And like Honorable Terplanche said, still up to now, it is priority number 26. And this community is asking for, if you can't have a fully fledged police station by now, the community is asking for a satellite or even a mobile police station so that the community members can report whatever cases they want to report closest to where they stay, unlike traveling 10 cases or more to report a case. And they've reported about the delays. Now, my question is it impossible to, in the meantime, have a satellite police station, a mobile satellite police station? On the presentation of GBVF, I see acting national commissioner. The presentation is a plan at a high level. But Dudula has submitted a petition. I don't see you responding, being specific and responding to what they are raising in their petition. Yes, you are telling us about your plan, which is at a high level. You are telling us about the imbisos throughout the country. But here is a petition from Dudula in the Western Cape. Can you be specific and respond? What is it that you are doing since you received this? What plan do you have which you are going to implement, which is implementable to respond to their petition? DM Acting National Commissioner, I don't know who will start. You can now respond to the questions and comments made by honorables. Thank you.
Thank you. I will allow the Acting National Commissioner and the team to respond to the comments. Thank you. Over to you, Acting National Commissioner and the team, General Mawela.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Colleagues, we will respond as requested by the chairperson. Chairperson, we will start first to respond to the Gauteng issues that are coming from the petitioners. I have noted, General Mawela, the inputs from the two members, Alta de Beer as well as Councillor Kate, and then we will then, Chairperson, respond to the issues of the GBV that you have just highlighted now by General Mutlala, as well as the issues of the firearms and the breakdown thereof. And we will then get to the general questions. Chairperson, if you may allow the colleagues to respond. Thank you.
Greetings once more, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, Deputy Minister and Acting National Commissioner. Let me appreciate an opportunity once more. With regard to the remarks by the petitioners, yes, we truly share their concern, hence we have approved that work study investigation. We agree with them that they deserve to have their own service point, the police station or the satellite station. We fully agree with that. And the chairperson spoke about what about the mobile CSC. Honorable Chairperson, if you can see in our presentation, I think is the second last bullet. We have made mention that since March 2022, we have deployed the mobile CSC. And that mobile CSC, it is daily deployed at Pick and Pay Mall, which is situated in Pomla, so that it can at least be closer to the community to report. And the request about the additional vehicle, I think it is reasonable request. We'll also look into it so that we deploy more resources. We fully agree with everything which they've said. The growth of the area, the number of the communities who are there, and the distance from all those police stations, we fully agree with that. And we are more than prepared to can work with the community to ensure that service is brought closer to the communities. I submit, Acting NASCOM. Oh, sorry. With regard to the Jabulani, as raised by Honorable Majosi, we'll look into it as to what is the reason for them to can close at 8 o'clock, but we'll definitely look into the issue as you have raised with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. General Mutlala.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable DM and members. On the question of GBVF for Western Cape, I will touch on it. And General, I will also request through you, Acting NASCOM, that the Provincial Commissioner of Western Cape to also respond. Firstly, from our side, nationally, we have all these interventions, especially like the issue of the National Strategic Plan of the SAPS. But added to that, Honorable Chairperson, we have interdivisional forums, interdivisional forum, but added to that, there are provincial steering committees. So each and every province has a GBVF steering committee, which is actually ensuring that all the activities that must take place in all 9 provinces do take place. And the reports of all these 9 provinces are actually added to the national picture. But added to that, Honorable Chairperson, except for all these activities that you see at a very high level nationally, but at provincial level, we have also crime awareness and education programs, which are more focused on, which are more province specific and dealing with all the contact crime hotspots within each and every province. But added to that, we also have integrated and multidisciplinary operations that are taking place in all the provinces. You're like operations like Ukaya Molau in Gauteng, which is led by the PC. But all these education and awareness programs, Honorable Chair and members, not only do they take place at the national level, but they are also, like I indicated, at provincial level, also those that are coordinated by the districts, and also those that are on a daily basis coordinated by the stations. But I think General, particularly the PC of Western Cape will add to that. And added to that, we also have stabilization operations that are taking place in Western Cape. Specifically, we have members that are in integrated teams, which is comprising of the disciplines from crime intelligence, your proactive, your combat teams like your NIU, your public order policing TRTs, just to mention a few that are deployed there, including our detectives, which are investigating some of these cases. Also, of course, focusing on the crime awareness campaigns, which is Pillar 5. So the operation is very successful, focusing on the hotspots that has been identified by both national in consultation with the province. And it's actually focusing, one of the main focuses to also address GBVF related cases. That's basically that from my side. And then the next one, which is relating to the stolen, lost, or robbed firearms of the SAPS. My colleague also there, General Fani, will also respond, because supply chain management is the custodian of all firearms in the SAPS. But from an operational point of view, some of the issues that we have observed is that one of the matters, the issue that is actually contributing is in the main attacks on police, both on duty and off duty, is to ensure that there are issues that need to be handled both at local, district, provincial, and national level. But also we are also emphasizing the issue of from supply chain. General Fani is currently assisting us with the installation of CCTV cameras so that police station, and also, of course, dealing with all the issues that are pose a risk in all the police stations in the country, especially focusing on all the hotspots police stations. We are also conducting compliance inspections. After each and every incident of attack on police, we send dedicated teams that will go and do an assessment, security assessment, to check whether what were the contributing factors, and we make recommendations to the provincial commissioners so that they can be able to address those issues, and we monitor them with unannounced and announced compliance follow-up visits and compliance inspections. But added to that, there are directives that have been issued to all the commanders at all levels, especially at the local level where most of these attacks are taking place, that the commanders must actually ensure that on a daily basis, first and second level compliance inspections are taking place to check on the audit of all the relevant firearms within our safes, including also those that are deployed in our CSCs. And also during the duty on and duty of parades, the issue of firearms of members are also inspected to check that they are not lost. And also in those duty on and duty off, there is always the members about the safety hints, so that also not only focusing on the loss of firearms, but it is also on the vigilance of all these members when they are operating either in the police stations or even outside when they are conducting their operations. With that said, Honorable Chairperson and members, Acting National Commissioner DM, that will be my submission, but I will request through you that both General Patekile and Fani, just to add on what I've said.
May I come in, Chairperson?
Please.
Good day to you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Deputy Minister, the Acting National Commissioner, all honorable members and the senior management of the police. In addition to what General Masala was saying, we have in each station appointed, created gender-based violence desk where we trained members to be responsible for that anytime, 24 hours. What we also looked at, we have been focusing on men's dialogue because most of the GBVs are committed by men, and focusing on the hotspot areas. We've had a number of those in the city of Cape Town and also in the winelands where most of these in the Western Cape are committed. And also that's apart from the where that station is having at its hotspot areas awareness campaigns on GBV. We've also have our brain-friendly, victim-friendly rooms at the stations that we've been revived, and I mean making sure that they're user-friendly for the victims of those crimes. Also, our main focus is now on the youth crime prevention as well as spiritual crime prevention in anticipation, also talking about awareness campaigns. The last one, what we are now focusing on is internal within the SAPS, because there's no use that you must attend to a GBV, also you are experiencing the same at home. So we are dealing with that external and also internally to ensure that we attend to our clients in a very professional and acceptable manner. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, may I also invite General Fani to respond to the specific questions that were relating to the engagement with public works and what are the plans that we are having in place. If General Fani can also touch on the issues of the garages and the status of our interventions within the garages. This is the question that was earlier asked by Honorable Shembeni, the issue of restructuring, General Ntia, if we can get to a brief response in relating to the issues of restructuring and how far are we as the department in responding to that. We will also touch General Fani on the issue of prioritization of the police station as in regard to Leondale Police Station. Where are we with the project and how far are we to respond to the challenges of implementation of the plan of finalizing the Leondale Police Station? Similarly, on the issues of the buildings of the police station, if we can touch on those 2-3 issues from yourself, and the safety at police station, Chairperson, which will be an overall that is applicable to all the police stations. I will request General Dimpani to also come in and assist in our progress thus far. Thank you, Chairperson.
Good morning, Chairperson, the Deputy Minister, honorable members, and all the officials in the meeting. If I may proceed, Chairperson, I'm Lieutenant General Fani from South African Police Service.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much. Chairperson, I would first tackle the issue of the garages. I would like to bring to the attention of the committee that we embarked as South African Police Service on a project to enhance performance or availability of our cars or fleet in general. We started in August of 2023 looking at the challenges and the issues that we have from a technical perspective and from the management of the garages perspective. We have been from August of 2022 to date managed to increase our efficiency or the vehicle availability from 75 to 85%, which is on average an increase of about 10% availability of our cars, meaning that we have been able to fast track and eliminate some of the challenges that we've got pertaining to fixing and making sure that our fleet are available for utilization to fight crime within the South African police services. A number of enhancements or efficiencies that we have looked at is we looked at what were the challenges with command, what were the challenges with spares availability, how the transversal contracts from National Treasury were assisting us for issues such as availability of time, and making sure that the West Bank program also assists us. Also, we looked at what are the things that we require internally to be able to repair our cars faster. We are still continuing to make sure that some of the deficiencies that we are still experiencing, we will deal with and eradicate them. The ultimate goal is to make sure that the garages are capacitated fully and making sure that all other issues such as the leakages and issues of personnel behavior are dealt with, and that command within the garages is optimized for better management of our garages. Those challenges would be dealt with. We also are looking at long-term plans with regards to what type of vehicles are we going to be utilizing within the South African police services. For an example, are we going to stick with one brand, or are we going to have a brand mix like we are doing at the moment? There are some of the fleet or cars or makes that are challenging because we do not have resources that know how to fix them, and we have to outsource them, therefore experiencing long lead times with regards to repairs of those. But those are the things that are ongoing. I think what is important to note, Chairperson, is that the efficiency has improved over time to about 85% availability. The issue of CCTVs and load shedding, the project has started. It is twofold. The provinces have been provided with funds to do the CCTV installations in their environment, and where there are large projects, such as some of the projects in KwaZulu-Natal, we've gone out on tender and we have procured the services of suppliers to be able to install these CCTVs. One of the challenges that we have, Chair, is that we have had, when it comes to non-devolved police stations, meaning those that are under the control of Public Works, where we need to seek permission, we have had engagements with them. We have received an inroad, and they have given us permission to install the CCTV cameras. So the rollout of the installation of the CCTV cameras would assist us in that regard. We should see a remarkable improvement in the next financial year when the next allocations are made. Maybe I should, at that note, Chairperson, touch on the engagement with National Department of Public Works. There are teething problems in that environment, which we are dealing with. What is noteworthy to report is that the acting DG in that space has provided us with permission to do some of the work that we require to do on the non-devolved police stations. Issues such as, like I've alluded to, installation of alternative energy sources such as generators, inverters, and solar panels, the drilling of boreholes, the maintenance of the cell locks, the installation of CCTV cameras, and other small maintenance requirements to the value of 1 million. So there are inroads that we are making. Where we are not making inroads is in the built environment, where projects are still lagging behind, and where projects that have to be built are still stuck in certain stages with regards to the infrastructure development framework. So quite a lot of our projects are still on the site clearing, and site clearing takes quite a long time, up to 2 years. What South African Police Services is seeking to do with the assistance of the presidency is to develop prototype models or designs for police stations so that we cut the site clearance duration drastically by having these prototypes, and also ensuring that the engagement of specialists, your architects and your quantity surveyors, is also reduced drastically when we've got prototype designs for different types of police stations. A design is ready for discussion with National Commissioner upon his return, and then we will share it with the ministry and the portfolio committee if such an opportunity is provided. So those are some of the things that we are doing with regards to making sure that public works come to party. But we still are having some of the teething issues that we require to deal with. Chairperson, we do have a record of lost or stolen firearms within our within the South African Police Services in our system. What I do not have today is the breakdown as requested at the moment with regards to which provinces and which police stations specifically. That information, Chairperson, can be made available through the correct channels within the organization. Chairperson, I think I have answered all the questions. If I have left anything, you may indicate so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Chairperson. General Dimpani will just add on what General Fani has indicated on the safety of the police stations, and the acting DNC support services, General Linsia, on the issues that are left in the HR space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and the honorable members of the committee, Deputy Minister, the Acting National Commissioner, all protocol observed. Chair, just to add in terms of the efforts that we are undertaking as SAPS, there has been a dedicated funding that has been granted to the provinces to prioritize and look into the issues of safety at police stations. There is a 25 million that was added to the allocations to the provinces. To this end, about 76% has been utilized. The provincial commissioners identify those police stations that might be deemed vulnerable, and they improve safety with this funding that was allocated in terms of issues of fencing, CCTV cameras, and all those security related issues. We will sustain this allocation. I think this is the second year that we have granted provinces. We will sustain this allocation in the upcoming financial year to ensure that we get our police stations to the level that we want them to be in terms of safety. Thank you, Chairperson.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, the Deputy Minister of Police, the Acting National Commissioner. Chairperson, I am Lieutenant General Insia. I will be responding to the questions that were raised relating to human resource management. The first question that was raised it was a question and a comment. It was raised by Honorable Member Sheikh in terms of us professionalizing the police, as well as looking at the benefits or the conditions of the police officers. I take that as a point, Chairperson, and as the SAPS, we do admit that we need to do more in terms of professionalizing the police. But I must indicate, Chairperson, that whenever we recruit police officers, we subject them through various selection processes. And there are various tests that they undergo, psychometric tests, they do write the integrity test, we subject them to physical assessments. You know, there are many tests that we are subjecting them to. And once they are successful in that first phase, we also take them to the college where they are being trained, basic training, which is an accredited training. And once they are fully fledged police officers, we do have courses internally where we subject them to those courses. So in as far as those are concerned, Chairperson, we are trying our level best to make sure that our police officers, they are well trained to be able to respond to the needs out there. But I agree, Chairperson, that yes, we still need to do more in terms of, professionalizing the police, and we'll have that in discussion or conversation internally in the SAPS. And I'm linking this one, Chairperson, to the quality of police officers that we are bringing in the organization. I think, as I've mentioned already, that is the process that we are following when we recruit, but it must also be noted that we recruit from the pool that is coming from the Department of Education, those matriculants that maybe others will be interested or will have passion to join the police. Unfortunately, others will come to the police because they didn't do well when it comes to matric. So whatever that we receive from the Department of Education is what we get, what we recruit from. So maybe if we want to go deeper, we need to go back to basic education to check the quality of matriculants that they produce, because the quality of matriculants that they produce will also affect the quality of the people that we are bringing in the police, because they will be coming from that stream of education. So in terms of the living conditions as well as the benefits of our members, we agree, Chairperson, that we must still do more. Yes, it is indeed true that we take time to promote our officials. We do promote them from time to time, depending on the availability of funds. We are having competing priorities. We are talking about the fact that our compensation budget is over. We are talking about that we need more boots on the ground, and we are also talking about us promoting our officials. So we are having competing priorities, but we are trying our level best, Chairperson, to promote our members. We had promotion processes last year, even a year before last. So every year we do have promotions, but we are engaging with our labor, our SSBC, both POPRU and SAPU, to find ways of checking how we can, compensate or how we can improve the living conditions of our SAPS employees. So those engagements are taking place. The matters are still sitting at the agenda of the council, and those discussions will continue, so that as the SAPS, we can find ways of making sure that we also improve the morale of our members by giving them, what they need in terms of the promotions, as well as issues of, where they live, accommodation, because some of them, they don't even have accommodation. Another question that was asked to Chairperson was the issue of the restructuring. I can indicate, Chair, that yes, the restructuring started and it was suspended, but we have now been directed by the National Commissioner that we need to go back to the table with Labour so that we can conclude the project of the restructuring. And SAPS, as well as both social partners, we are committed, Chairperson, to bring the issue of the restructuring to finality, but because we agree that it has been running for quite some time. Honorable Shembeni also asked a question about level 9 and 10, as well as level 11 and 12. I must indicate that in the South African Police Service, Chairperson, when we appoint our lieutenant colonels, we appoint them on level 10, not on level 9. So both level 9 and 10 were collapsed in the police in as far as the South African Police Act appointments are concerned. So we don't appoint on level 9, we appoint on level 10, the lieutenant colonels. So similarly to 11 and 12, the colonels level, we appoint on level 12, we don't appoint on level 11. So all South African Police Act employees appointed in terms of the same act, they appointed on both level 12 and level 10. So we don't have 9 and we don't have 11. These changes were brought into being in 2006 through the broadband salary structure. I think those were the questions, Chairperson, that were asked in as far as human resource management is concerned. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson. From the general comments, Chairperson, I must say to all members who have asked questions, we appreciate, but there are new questions that are coming on the meeting chat that I will request General Biegas, if it is in the position to respond to Honorable Majosi's question on the police officers taking off the affidavits and whether is there any new format in doing that. And I see the other question on the form that must be got from the Home Affairs. But then all the two questions, General Biokas, if you are in the position to respond to, if you can assist. Chairperson, in the nutshell, I wanted to say that on the issues of the engagements with the municipalities and other role players, as the department, we do have what we call at the provincial level prof joints, and nationally where we get all departments, including COCTA and any other department that may play any role in assisting the department or taking the responsibilities that will assist the department in achieving its objective. We use these structures and we will continue. We have plans such as a partnership policing that we are encouraging from time to time. We are engaging with different role players and stakeholders. And what came out in the meeting is that this engagement must be maximized to ensure their impact in a fighting against crime. We also engage with the public security companies, private security companies from time to time, and we do have plans on how we address certain issues. Tomorrow, the NAT joint structure and NCCF will be engaging with the CIT companies just to look into other methods of suppressing the ever-increasing cash in transit heist. And we also participate with the local municipalities as well as where there are metros in making sure that the plans are sanitized, and we work together in looking at the plans that are envisaged to fight crime, that alignment and synergy between what the metros are having and the South African Police Service. So we do have quarterly meetings that are held between the metros as well as the visible policing, where once a year the National Commissioner is expected to address such meetings. We have also noted the concern that was raised on the visible policing as well as the detective capacity and how we can maximize our response in the charge office and police stations to have professional policing. I think General Nsia did touch on the trainings that we are also having through our HRD, and as of now, Chairperson, I must say the detective capacity is the department's concern, and we are working on that. That will be on human capital capabilities, specialized units, the training, and to come up with other strategies to assist. We also have resuscitated the tracking teams to look into the old dockets to assist in tracking and tracing the wanted and outstanding suspects in that space. Chairperson, I think what I have noted, unless if there are issues that are still outstanding, we will then hear from the members if we have covered where we have shortfalls. Chairperson, I think on the issues of the breakdown of police stations and the provinces that are experiencing losses, will request to submit that, to look into the list and submit that breakdown at the later stage. We also have noted the GBV plan that needs to have an impact on the decreasing of crime of this nature. We haven't necessarily looked at the current plan as it is from time to time aligned with the National Strategic Plan, Chair. We will then have to undertake a short study to look, since the implementation of this plan, how is our crime going in that space, and what impact is it having. That will include the increase in reporting, because the plan intends to educate and to engage as far as possible with communities to be aware of what is happening in the space of gender-based violence and femicides. And the reporting may vary depending on the challenges that the communities is expecting, including our response in terms of arresting those that are perpetrated in the space of GBV and F. Chairperson, that is our submission. And if General Biokas is in the position to respond to the Honorable Majosi's questions, as
highlighted, Chairperson, through you will allow General Burgers to do that. If not, we will respond at the later stage by your direction. So thank you very much. I submit.
General Burgers, quickly.
Good afternoon, Honourable Chairperson, members of the committee and senior officers. I am indeed in a position to respond. During December, the acting DG for State Security brought it to the attention of the Provincial Commissioner Gauteng that performer statements from police stations were being used by criminal syndicates, for example, to make false statements on lost IDs, to take vehicles over the border, etc. So what happened was an instruction was issued that all pro forma statements were withdrawn and replaced with one standard pro forma statement, and that the SAPS member taking the statement, his details or her details must be recorded, and an OB entry must be made, and these details must be brought onto the pro forma statement. It's an interim instruction. We are looking at perhaps digitalizing the pro forma statements that are issued by the SAPS. So there's no new instruction, or there is an instruction, but there's no new legislation. Deponents of affidavits are not supposed to be making their own affidavits. When an affidavit is taken by a police official, the police official is supposed to be writing the affidavit, not the deponent of that affidavit. So the purpose of this instruction issued in Gauteng is it's an interim instruction in order to ensure that there's proper record keeping of every single affidavit that is taken down by a SAPS member and by a Commissioner of Oaths, and that there's an OB entry which coincides with that affidavit made, as well as the full and clear details of the police official taking that affidavit. So the purpose was to address the complaint received from the acting DG of State Security, and obviously to prevent the proliferation of these pro forma statements by criminal syndicates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you, DM.
Thanks very much, Acting National Commissioner. Honorable members and the leadership of SAPS, we are going to adopt our reports on petitions in our next meeting, which is next week. We'll therefore request that we get progress with regard to what was submitted in the two petitions. General Mawela said some of the things are easy to do, like supplying more cars to the satellite police stations, availing more cars, so that can be part of our report, which will be adopted next week, and then submitting it to Parliament for Parliament to adopt it. Once Parliament has adopted it, then it becomes a resolution of Parliament, which we will follow now and then. So we'll highly request that we get that progress report on the petitions by next week, even from the petitioners, Councillor and your team, if we can be briefed by the latest Tuesday next week as to whether there's been progress or not. And then we'll then include that as part of our report. Otherwise, I think all the questions were answered. We want to thank you, National Commissioner, and your team for trying your best to answer all the questions. Those that you are supposed to submit in writing, please do so before our next meeting so that we can get that as a metrizing from our minutes, because all this, what we said, our questions and your answers are captured as part of our minutes so that we're able to make a follow-up. So where you have made commitments, we're able to take you to task to check whether such commitments are implemented. Before I close the meeting, DM, we are parting with.
Thank you. Hello, Chairperson. Thank you very much, and thanks to the members, and thanks to the petitioners who participated in the engagement. Obviously, some of the issues will need us to look at the implementation of the integrated crime prevention strategy, which has been adopted by cabinet, and I think municipalities like Ekurhuleni Metro should have that document discussed on what role can the municipality play. I think as they were commenting here, one of the members who were commenting on the presentation, asking a question, spoke to the problem of unemployment, that there is high unemployment in the area. I think it's Mr. Alta DB, that the problem of unemployment is conducive. It creates conditions that are conducive for criminality, because people who are unemployed, they don't have the means of survival, and for them to survive, they respond to criminality, and this will need a local government, in particular the provincial government and national government, working together to create opportunities that will make it possible for the citizen to get employment. Police come at the tail end as a reactive force to a problem that has emerged, and there are problems that can be avoided if we can all do what is necessary. It is clear that we need to work together, to collaborate with communities, to collaborate with everybody, work with the committee, work with people who bring petitions, like is the case now here, raising concerns that they have as communities around Operation Budula, raise issues around GBV, the others raise issues around police stations or services by the South African police. So we can only work better and respond to the challenges before us if we collaborate. When petitioners come here, organizations like Budula and any other organization raise issues or alert us about things that are happening in communities, and we need to respond. We can only succeed if we work together cooperatively, both national, provincial, and local, but also communities and the parliament, like we do with yourself, Chair, and members of this committee. There is a lot that we achieve. There is a lot that we gain out of interfacing with yourself. The meeting of today with the Auditor General, submitting the observations that they have had with us. Out of these interventions, we become better, and we can only improve and be a better country by working together with yourself, keeping us in check when we don't do our work, making us to account, and also for ourselves, because it's also not a good thing when we appear before you, Chair. We really take, we prepare thoroughly to come here, and we know, hey, sometimes it's not easy to come here. You know, members of this committee, sometimes they can be very difficult. They ask very tough questions, but we become better. All this I'm saying, Chair, to appreciate the role that members, yourself as a whip and the chair of the committee are playing in keeping us in shape, and we really appreciate that. And we thank you so much for affording us this time, and the Auditor General and our team as well for doing everything possible. Like we said, General Mutsikidi said, we are not here as head office. We are with PCs from all the 9 provinces. They are part of this engagement. They were part of the processes as we were preparing for this meeting. So we appreciate everyone's effort in this regard from the ministry. Thanks, Acting Commissioner and your team, for responding to questions that were fielded. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, DM, and thanks very much, Acting Commissioner and your team. Let me check whether the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee is back to close the meeting. Chairperson, are you available? seemingly is not available. Let me thank everybody who participated in today's meeting for your time and contributions. Honorable members, our parliamentary staff, the ministry, and the delegation from SAPS. Thanks very much. Let's do as we agreed in preparation for our next engagement. The meeting stands adjourned.